Hey everybody, we are live and welcome to Tuesday Night Gun Chat here on Alaskan Ballistics. All right, and if you haven't seen one of these before, we you just ask your questions, I give you my answers. We do have a special guest tonight who is very knowledgeable about firearms and has a lot of experience, and so I want y'all to get to know Mark from Fit and Fire. First time he's been on the show.
Hey guys, yeah.
So again, we just answer user questions most of the time, but it's nice to have another YouTuber on here, one I've watched and admired from. We kind of got the opposites tonight. You're fit and fire, and I'm fat and fire. So it's you know, there you go. Oh, hi, Mark. Yeah,
Oh,
there you go.
mhm.
All right, so everybody, get your questions, and I'm going to let Mark introduce himself.
Yeah, so Mark, from Kansas. I like long walks on the beach. Let's see. No, not really. Um I do see that one of my bestest friends in the whole wide world is in the comment section. Soccer shooter, good to see you, buddy. Who gives me the old high mark? But I'm a 11-year active duty Army vet. I got out in technically 2013 and decided, I need to do something else with my time because the military, it takes up a lot of your time. So um, coincidentally, my buddy Shocker Shooter, he and I were discussing it, and he was like, "Dude, you should totally do like a YouTube channel." And so I kind of figured it out on my own. Well, I can't really say that. I did get a lot of help from Johnny B.
Okay.
Back in the day when he was doing the 182nd Idea channel before he changed his YouTube name, and I had been following him since he was like, I don't know, 2,500 subscribers, and I just emailed him and was like, "Hey, this is my idea. What do I do?" And he's just like, "Dude, get a camera, get a DSLR camera, and record a video, edit it." Upload it, and as soon as you get done with that one, do a second one as fast as you possibly can. And that was over 8 years ago. So here I am now. I've gotten to do some really, really cool stuff. Like obviously Shot Show, going to that. I've got
Me too.
all my tickets and everything ready to go for Shot Show 2025. I've gotten to hang out with some really cool people, meet some really cool people. Um, I've been invited out to do some like long range shooting. I've been able to shoot a mile twice now,
Oh,
which
nice.
is really cool. The first time I shot a mile, it was first round impact, so that was really really cool. Um,
Nice.
I couldn't replicate that, but um,
No.
and realistically, the whole premise of my channel is just to be a mouthpiece for the Second Amendment, be an advocate, talk about firearms in a positive light, and add a bit of fitness element to it as much as I possibly can. I'm trying to grow that a little bit more in my channel. Um, excuse me, I got a tickle in my throat here. So,
Go right ahead.
but yeah, but the idea, the concept of what I say at the end of my videos, freedom through strength, man. Freaking um, eh, you can have all the guns in the world, but if you can't survive the fight, um, it's really not going to do you any good. So um, I like the idea of concept of staying fit, training as hard as you can, and being proficient as you possibly can in a whole variety of different things, not just firearms. You still got to communicate with people. So commo, that's a big piece that I'm looking into. Um, First aid,
Yeah.
we can make holes, but if you can't plug holes, you're kind of useless as well.
And you are
So
far more likely to save a life with a first aid kit than you are to ever have to pull your gun to take one. Yeah.
100%.
It's not even close. Like it's trillions of times like more likely.
Yeah.
I'm probably exaggerating a little bit, but yeah, it's not even close.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, you're absolutely right. And again, just being able to, be I hate to use this because it's a bit overused, but be a warrior in a garden instead of a gardener in a war.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of my take on things. So,
Yeah, I've studied a lot of ancient battles lately. I've like loved the military history. I was rewatching. I don't know if you watch History March, great channel, but I was rewatching his Hannibal in the Battle of Cannae, or Cannae, or however you pronounce it, last night. And it's just like to be conscripted in the Roman army. Like you were a gardener, you were something else, and then you're on the front lines and trained in the Roman way of fighting and behind a shield wall, and the guys with experience are behind you. So yeah, that's how that crap worked.
yeah,
And
for
so
sure.
it's kind of amazing that like people don't realize that how bad it was. You were a gardener in a war back then,
Yeah,
and even as far back as World War II. As
yeah.
far as
Good looking out on that, because I just subscribed to his channel. I'll have to check that out.
yeah,
Uh,
he's really good. Good British accent. If you watch it once, you'll fall asleep. Like I needed to fall asleep, but like
yeah,
yeah, I can watch that Battle of Cannae and and what is it, Lake Trasimene that
mm,
Hannibal just rocked the Romans on.
yeah.
So I could listen to that all night. So
If you like that one, and you're into podcasts, I would suggest looking into hardcore history
okay.
with uh, Dan. Oh man, what's his last name? Dan. Anywho, hardcore history, great podcast. Dan Carlin, yeah, um, great podcast. Uh, each one of his podcasts only come out about maybe once every 4 to 6 months,
Hmm.
but every podcast is minimum 3 hours.
Ah,
And he just builds. Sometimes he'll do a series, like he did a series. It's called something like
that
yeah,
guy.
yeah, that guy
There we
right
go.
there. Yeah,
Cool.
he did a series called King of Kings,
Hmm.
and essentially that series was about the Spartan 300,
Hmm.
only from the Persians' perspective,
Yeah, that
and
makes sense.
the
Yeah,
reason why they marched into Greece and tried to take Greece over. It was
yeah,
very interesting. So yeah.
yeah. And see a lot of people use that term King of Kings as religious, and they don't realize that was the Christians copying the Persian Empire or the different empires there, the Sassanid and the Asanians and all the different empires that were in Persia, but they're all essentially the Persian Empire.
100%. Yep.
Yeah, and they don't realize that and I have my religious beliefs. I don't want to like talk about it like for all, but like the reason why we call Jesus King of Kings is because it was equivalating him to that which we would call emperor today. Emperor would have kings underneath them, and they would have governors and stuff like that. But like or duchies or whatever.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, they people don't realize that's where that term comes from. Xerxes and Darius, the king of kings, because he ruled all of the kings of Persia. So
Right. Right.
yeah.
So no, it's like I said, it's been a great ride. He's done one on the Celts.
Hmm.
He's doing one right now that I'm trying to listen through. It's been pretty tough, but basically it's dealing with the Vikings coming into England.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, so yeah, if you have a long drive and you're highly caffeinated, this is a great listen. Or
Yeah.
if you just
Yeah.
need to, rest your eyes and just listen, it could put you to sleep. But I get pumped up on that type of stuff. So yeah.
Yeah, I get that myself. If I want to just find out about a subject, there's one called History Matters, and it's all animated. He's
Mhm,
hilarious. He puts these little like, oh, this is the Treaty of Perpetual Peace. Fun fact, no, and it's just like does these, and so he does these like 10-minute British history. So like the Viking Age in Britain there, and France. Like people don't know that the Vikings actually took over England
mhm,
like for a good part, Northumbria and that part and the Kingdom of Mercia. But then they actually settled in France, and the part of Normandy there in France was the Norse Normandy,
yep,
right?
yep,
And then the Normans conquered England. So it's like the Vikings took over England there. So and that's why you had so many wars between England and France, is because you have the Duke of Normandy, who is also the King of England, but he's supposed to be subservient to the King of France because he's a Duke. And so he's also a king of a strong realm. So is he equal or is he not? And does he have power and does he not? And that's why there's so many wars between France and England. And, it's just
Yeah, no, that's good. And I'm pretty sure that my daughter has watched those YouTube videos.
yeah.
She got on a kick where she was just watching every single like animated history, YouTube video, and I'm like, What are you doing?" I mean, I'm good with it.
Some
Keep doing it.
some of them are hilarious though.
Yeah,
All right, we've got a question from Hotep. Hotep's one of my good follower here. He said, "Funny, a guy called Fitfire after I ran 10 kilometers today, and
nice.
he's from my old stomping grounds of Atlanta.
10K.
Um, he wants to know what are your opinions on subsonic ammo in general.
Yeah.
So,
100%. Depends on the application. If you're going to use subsonic ammo on a large animal for hunting purposes, in my opinion, you want to make sure that your load is dialed in as
yep.
well as you want it, as you need it, rather,
Mhm.
for personal protection. Yeah, especially if you're going to suppress it, obviously. Um, home defense, ranch defense, that's always good. The big thing that I always find interesting is we have such a stigma when it comes to suppressors here in the United States. When in at least in England,
Mhm.
by the way, my dogs are probably getting ready to freaking go off here because I just heard the garage door open, so they're probably going
There
to
you go.
start
Yeah.
barking. But in Europe, if you go out and hunt and you don't have a suppressor on your firearm, you're kind of considered inconsiderate,
Hmm.
but subsonic ammo, absolutely, as long as like I said, as long as you've got that load dialed in and you know its capabilities and its limitations, go for it. Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Hope that answered the question.
Yeah. I just got into suppressors. I had a 22 suppressor until 2 months ago. Now I have two 45 caliber rifle rated suppressors. I have the Silence Hybrid 46.
Yep.
There you go.
Yeah, sorry
And
guys.
that's all right. Don't worry about it. We love dogs on this channel. Um, I have my hybrid Silence Go 46, and then like the day after I bought that and spent the money on that, and my wife's going, "Oh," which I was proud of myself. I paid some debt off, and I was going to go buy me a suppressor, and and actually I was going to go buy a gun, but the gun never anyway. And then like the next day, I get contacted by a company because I shared another creator's video on Twitter and X, what you ever call it now, and YouTube, and they're like, "Ooh, you have more subscribers than him. We'd like to talk to you." And so now I have an anechoic. That's how you pronounce it. Anechoic. Anechoic suppressor, and they're all titanium and flow
Man,
through. So
yeah.
yeah,
I think I
just got
just got
code.
an
Yeah,
email from them today.
cool. Yeah, Dylan over there is pretty good to work with.
You
Yeah,
said
yeah,
Anechoic?
yep,
Yeah, 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 yeah.
yeah,
Totally just got an email from them today. I'll
yeah.
have to check them out.
They're pretty very good to work with. Um, and it's nice. I got their 45L, and I'm not so sure that I like titanium and flow through or pass through technology as he calls it.
Mhm.
Because you do get a flash. Like the
Ah.
titanium is flammable, and like so little atoms of titanium, you'll never burn your can up, but unless you like just throw it on a 50 caliber machine gun or something. But like you will get a flash, and so I think I would like non-flow through to suppress the flash as much as possible. But then you have to worry about the gas system of your gun and is everything feeding right and all that
Mhm.
kind of thing. But I
Yeah.
will say it performed very well on my Henry 4570. I went and did a few shorts with it, and then like the rifles that I need most to suppress are like 22s because I have like 7 22s that need a suppressor,
Right.
and I only have 122 suppressor. And so I threw it on there, and just the sheer volume of a 45 can will just quiet a 22 down, even though it's a
Yeah.
45 caliber hole.
Yeah,
So
you just did a short on that.
yeah,
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
I did a short with like three different kinds of ammo, three different shorts actually, and yeah, it just really rocks. Like
Hmm.
it's nice, and I like them because by the way, if you're listening, you can get a discount code with the word Alaskan. I think it's 10 or 15%. But yeah, I'm sure you'll have your own discount code. But I got to say that out loud. You know how it is. Got to plug something. You know,
Of
I'd like to
course,
make
yeah,
some money.
of
Yeah.
course, yeah.
Uh, but yeah,
Do
yeah,
they
it as
have
well.
do they have interchangeable end caps that you could
Yes.
put like a flash
Mhm.
hider style end cap on it? You think?
I don't think they have a flash hider styling cap now, but you can change the diameter of the hole, and
Okay,
you can get different flow through, or you can get some non flow through as well.
okay.
And so I'm asking him to send me a 22 and a 30 caliber non flow through hole.
Mm,
So I'm gonna put it on my 22 250.
yeah,
That would cause some flash.
yeah.
Nothing like 3,600 feet per second going by titanium. You know.
Well, I'd like to get I'd like to get a 46 caliber can that would allow me to do, everything, 4570 and below. Um,
Hmm.
I've got the Dead Air Sandman S, and I went with that one because it was multi cal rated up to 30 cal. But now I've got some other firearms that are just, they're 4570 and 357 and those types of things,
Right.
and I want to make sure that I'm well within the tolerances of that
Hmm.
suppressor. I guess
Yeah.
357 I could still use with my dead air, but
No. No.
no.
Not It's a 30 caliber can you said?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's
yeah,
three.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
That's
That's
0.355.
yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah,
If you do, please video it, tape it in slow
exactly. No,
motion, please, like from the front if you can. You know, I'm just
yeah, for some reason, I don't my mind just got,
saying.
mixed up. This week I know it's only Tuesday, but it feels like it's been Thursday already. It's just been
Yes, that's that week for you too, huh? Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So, uh, yeah, but, and then on top of all of that, uh, just a complete tangent here. I've been like really stressed out because my day job is closing the facility that is where I work out of, but
Mm.
I work for a corporate entity, so my quote unquote job is safe, but they want me to move somewhere, and I'm like, no, I'm not moving anywhere.
Yeah,
so,
I get it.
um, so I've been thinking about, I've been trying to figure out what that means for me and my job. And I just applied for a job within the gun industry yesterday. So I think I'm going to be pretty competitive. I don't know if I'll get the job or not, but I'll be pretty competitive anyway. So I've got all of that rattling around in my head right now too. So anyway, so um, if I've seen like a space case, definitely not the beer. It's because I've got so much going on in my head right now.
Uh, you need the beer to cool you down there.
Oh yeah,
Sounds
yeah,
like.
yeah, yeah,
Yep,
for sure.
yep. Just I'm going through all of these right here. Good evening, 67 Rebel. He's the one who I love him to death. He he drove to our moose hunt and decided to sleep in, and he didn't get to hunt because I shot the moose. That
Oh,
moose. Yeah, he's like, dang. So, I mean,
whoopsies.
yeah. So, he was a good help though. Yeah, I appreciate it. Yeah. We went back to that spot, me and another friend, but we went a little later in the season, and like a bunch of people ran up on my friend when he had a bull moose running after a cow,
Mhm,
and it's just like crazy. So, and I actually did shoot it with that rifle, even though that's a little small for moose, but
mhm,
uh, that's my 6.5 by 284 Norma, and so it's my most accurate gun, even though it's just a cheap Savage 111. It's hand loads. It's 0.228, 0.26 inches, something like that, center hole to center hole.
mhm.
So a three shot
Nice.
group is the same size as one bullet hole, just about.
That's cool.
So yeah. Now, if I could do that all the time, I'd be up there with Jerry Mitchell or something. But like can't do that all the time. But
You're right, exactly.
the Normans got the English language the way it is now. That's true. That is very true. We say beef for cow on the table instead of cow for cow on the table because of the Normanized French that got into the English courts. Yeah, that's very true. All right. British and French weren't good at winning wars. Yeah, that's true. They just kept fighting each other no matter
Yeah.
what. Man, the 100 Years' War, I've been looking at that and it's just like, This is incredibly stupid. Could you imagine being a commoner at that time and having to fight in this battle for this king?
Mhm.
Like, you know, I mean, I know you can imagine it, but like I couldn't imagine it. All right. So, all right. some would say some would say there still aren't. Shocker shooter. Yeah, I would agree. I would agree. I mean, we did have to bail them out a couple of times, Just saying. Anyway, is Viking markets on huge boulders in southeast Oklahoma near the Arkansas River that leads into the Mississippi River. I just said the datings predated Christopher Columbus. Interesting.
And that would be very interesting because we know that Eric, what's his name?
Late,
Um, sp-
late.
yeah, Eric Leifson, right?
Yeah,
Is that
yeah,
right? Uh,
yeah.
Landed like in British Columbia. Um,
Mhm.
Not even
No,
British. No,
no, the other side.
yeah,
The
Newfoundland,
Newfoundland.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
like 100 or 200 years before Christopher Columbus.
500. It was
Yeah.
in the 990s, like 997,
Oh,
something
geez,
like
man,
that.
I am so off. I'm
Yeah,
off my game tonight. But
there
yeah,
you go.
so there. I mean, it's like I'm gonna get really off base here. It's like the moon landing, and it didn't actually happen. It's conceivable, right?
Right.
So I can go off on these like conspiracy theories all night, but this is one of the things that I talk to my girlfriend about all the time. Is she believes wholeheartedly that we landed on the moon. Okay, great. That's what you want to believe, that's fine. I, on the other hand, am very skeptical because of a number of different things that was happening right around that same time, like the Gulf of Tonkin incident and the assassination of JFK and the assassination of
RFK.
MLK and all
Yeah,
and
yeah,
RFK and all of
yeah.
these different things that are going on. At the same time, we're trying to fight communism, and all of the propaganda that was going on, not only from our side, but from their side as well. So why not just make the whole thing up? We have Hollywood underneath our thumb. We can just do whatever we want, right? The whole point is it's not outside the realm of possibility of something like this happening, right?
You're right.
So digressing back to the Vikings, it is within the realm of possibility that they migrated from Newfoundland all the way into the interior of the United States and could have carved those things. I mean, that's
Yeah,
very, um,
absolutely.
yeah. So, man, this is the first time I'm hearing about it. I'm gonna have to do some research on that and dive into that a little bit more.
Yeah. So we're getting off on that. I have the one thing I have about the moon landing is there were 400,000 employees involved in the NASA project on Apollo, between the government contractors, the people building the ships, between the actual NASA himself. It would seem like it would be hard to fake something that 400,000 people were involved in. It's all documented.
Sure.
Like it would just seem like, yeah. So like I'm not saying it's the U.S. government. They can lie out their butt. But I'm not saying it's not within the realm of possibility. I'll give you that. But I think it's 100% because of that evidence. Like you can't say like there's that. But that's you know we can
Well,
debate flat Earth too. Whatever, it doesn't matter.
no, no, yeah, but my perspective is, say, okay, let's say that you know you're correct, because that's actually a perspective that I've never considered. But immediately, my clapback is, okay. Well, we've gone through Mercury, we've gone through Gemini. Now we're at a stage that JFK wanted to make that happen within the decade of the 1960s. Cool. Why could we not just shoot a couple of guys into orbit, let them orbit the Earth several times until it's time for them to come home, and then drop them back down? All the while, they're going through a script. You see where I'm
Yeah.
going with this one?
I agree with you there. That one is an easy answer because both the U.S., the British, and the Soviets would have had the technology to track the spaceship at that time. Like, so if we had never actually gone into at least moon orbit, lunar orbit, there would have not been uh, like they could have been able to do it. All right, let's see. Yeah. Cool. Shocker. All right. Okay. David Thompson is gonna I put out a video today, and I just had some 6.5 Creedmoor 129 grain SSTs, Hornady Super Performance. They did pretty good on velocity. All I did was velocity and different barrel lengths, right? But I'm not a big believer in the Hornady SST. I've seen it actually just like explode on deer hides and not penetrate, and that was
Hmm.
from a 165 grain 308. And then every test I've done on the channel with my redneck water jugs or even ballistics gel behind it, which I don't think I've done with the SST, but and just a big old pork shoulder I get at Walmart or something, like that bullet is just shattered along with
Hmm.
the ELDX. Like I would never use them for large game because you hit a moose rib bone, that's like you're the deer in the shoulder,
Mhm.
So, like that bullet just turns into mush. And yeah, fragments can penetrate and kill it, but it's not going to fill up with blood as quickly. It's not going to drop the blood pressure as quickly because it didn't pass all the way through. And you're going to have a lot of things. You want a bullet that expands but also passes all the way through an animal so that you drop the blood pressure. And if you do have to track it, it isn't very far, and
Mhm.
you have really good blood to track it with. And so that's kind of what it is. And so the SSTs, the ELDXs, probably the tipped core lock. I got to go check it, but basically non-bonded ballistic tips. If they're a lead core, non-bonded ballistic tips. Some are better than the others, like the Nosler ballistic tip and the Sig had their own line. I think was a copy of the Nosler that did okay too. If you got it going slower, it would be better. Like it did much better in 65 Creedmoor than it did 270, for example. But yeah,
What do you think about the Winchester Deer Season XPs? Do you like those at all?
I have not tested them other than accuracy, and they haven't been accurate for me.
Mm,
I
that's
know
good.
up here we did not get over the ammo crisis very easily with hunting ammo. Hunting ammo didn't come back in until hunting season of 2 years ago,
Well,
and so the only 300 Winchester Magnum, which is the most popular I could find up here, was the deer season XPs. And so I plan on doing a test with them. I was going to test all the copper bullets because I got those for 270, and I've got
mhm,
like the trophy bonded copper bullets, trophy bonded copper from Federal, and I've got like Barnes, and I've got Hornady CX, and I've got Hornady GMX, and like I was going to test all these together, but I just haven't got around to it yet. But yeah, I haven't tested it. In general, I like copper bullets better and in lighter grains, because you can get them going faster. They need speed.
mhm,
So I don't care crap about ballistic coefficient. I'm not going to shoot a game animal past 600 yards. Like, just
mhm.
not going to do it.
Yep.
Um, and so, and even if I did, I would like at that point. That's when like ELDX is good. It's good at like 6, 7, 800 yards. But like I've just seen them shatter too much. I had a cow caribou. There's a video on the channel somewhere. I the caribou stepped right out of camera when I shot, of course.
Mhm, yeah, naturally.
Yeah, naturally. I hit it in the upper spine. I thought I had missed it. It's 212 yards. I had my scope on the wrong power. It's a second focal plane scope. So then the drop was off,
Oh,
right?
yeah. Mhm,
And so I thought I missed it. When I was gutting it, I found I hit it right in the spine, right in the smack dab middle of the spine, with a 162 grain ELDX out of a 7mm Remington Magnum. And that bullet, I thought I missed because it looked like you shot a duck on the water with a shotgun behind that caribou in the lake. That was behind that caribou,
hmm.
like because it was right on the edge of the lake, and it looked like you'd shot a duck on the water, like a shotgun shot where it would spread out. And I know shooting a duck on the water isn't sporting, so I've never done that ever. You know, to come home
Yeah,
with
I've
meat.
I've I've
No,
never done that either.
and yeah, not to come home with meat or anything like and or to like I only really went duck hunting because I had a dog at the time who was really good at it, and she is unfortunately passed right now. And
Mm,
but so I don't duck hunt anymore like I should. Occasionally I will, but like that caribou, and then I shot two more. One passed through and didn't do anything, no expansion whatsoever. It hit in between the ribs and went right through, and the next one hit the shoulder, and it finally dropped the caribou, and it just exploded that half of that front shoulder. But I couldn't eat. Like it was
wow.
just bloody and messed up, and like that ELDX cooked half of it, because it was 2980, 2990 at 2,000 feet. It was probably going over 3,000 easily. Um, you know, so that's that. And I won't use non-bonded ballistic tips again after that. So, all right, thanks, Teddy. Two guns.
Yeah, that's cool.
Mm. So, so I put out a video today, saying the SST is the same way, and so that's me. I think the SSTs would be a great home defense load. If I were going to load a home defense load for my AR-10, it would be a 125 grain SST in 308. And
Hmm.
that sucker would be going about 3,200 feet per second or 3,100 feet per second and just blow up on impact and
Yeah.
be better than a VMAX out of a 5.56.
Well, I got to go. It wasn't last week; it was the week before. I got to go on my second ever coyote hunt. And here in the state of Kansas, if you have a perdition permit, you can hunt coyotes at night with thermals. And
Nice.
my second coyote that I shot, I was shooting my 6.5 Creedmoor with the 95 grain VMAX, and the first dog that I shot was, I say dog, but I meant coyote. But
Yeah, that's
the
fine.
first coyote that I shot, it hit right in the chest and then blew out its stomach.
Hmm.
So it did the job. So within 10 seconds, it was done. The second coyote, I must have hit it. It was facing me at about 120 yards, and I hit it right in the chest, and it dropped immediately. And we went out and got it, and I brought it back, and I couldn't find an entrance, nor could I find an exit. But I replayed the video off of my thermal, and yeah, it dropped and didn't flop or nothing. It was like hitting a switch. So it was
Sweet.
really interesting.
What
So I'm
bullet were you
wondering.
using? What caliber
So
bullet?
it's 6.5 Creedmoor with the 95 grain
Mm,
Hornady
VMAX.
VMAX,
Yeah.
but it was loaded by Federal. So it's a Federal
Okay.
box with, right. My local shop has the Hornady version of that
Hmm.
exact same bullet that I may go and pick up. Um, and I'm curious if I could actually use both of those rounds for not only coyotes but also whitetail as well. Uh, I
So
think it'd be a little light.
yeah. So I don't recommend VMAX for whitetails. However, I had an AR-10 or AR-15, a 20-inch that I built from a double star JT distributing kit, and it was a 1 in 9 twist, and that thing shot VMAX lights out. My best group was it was factory Hornady tap, and I was hand loading at the time. But factory Hornady tap was I had a .277 inch group, 3 shots, edge to edge, and I have 5 witnesses to people that shot that group, but one of them was my ex-wife, so it can't be trusted. Anyway, um, so, but no, I shot deer with that in Georgia, but I would put it right here. So if you think your bullet isn't like if that round is just super accurate in your gun, it's just half-inch shooter or whatever. Yeah, stick it right there. It doesn't really matter. If you're gonna go shoot body shots at 2 and 3 or 400 yards, yeah, get something a little bit more heavy, not necessarily heavier in weight, but a little bit better bullet construction, something that's not going to just explode because that's what a
Right.
VMAX is supposed to do. And a lot of times, like what I would think would happen in your Coyote is the bullet didn't exit. All right,
Mhm.
it didn't exit. You said you couldn't find an entrance hole. A lot of times, it that bullet, if it's going that fast, because that 95 grains what hitting 32, thirty-three
Mm,
hundred feet per second,
probably.
even in a need more, as they say. Um, that thing is probably like resealing the wound almost as it goes in, cauterizing that wound. And with a thick coat, like if you never found the entrance, that's probably what happened. I've heard of it happening before. I thought it was a lot of BS until I started researching it. And there's a lot of people that say, yeah, on a thick animal that has thick hair or even a thin animal, like if that bullet doesn't exit uh, and you can't find an entry hole, a lot of times the thing just went right through, just blew up inside and didn't do it. And that's good. But on bigger, larger game up here, I would want something a little bit more substantial. Up here we have sitka black-tailed deer. There's a place I could drive to and hunt, but it's mostly on some islands, you know.
Mhm.
And like they're so small, they're much smaller than whitetail in the wild. In captivity, which are the only ones I've seen, I've been in some zoos and stuff up here. Um, they're actually bigger than whitetail. They're fed like crazy. Um, but in the wild, they're pretty smaller than whitetail by I don't know, good 25, 30 pounds each. You know,
Yep.
if you got an 8 point buck, that would be like a kid's first 8 point buck. That's a trophy sitka blacktail deer, right? And uh, up here, like it'd be great. Yeah, that 95 gram VMAX would be great on those things because they're not much bigger than a large coyote.
Right.
The problem is you shoot one or two, and then you have a big brown thing stalking you, and that VMAX ain't even going to make it through the hide of
Right.
a brown bear. So,
Yeah.
so you got to use something up here. Like people will use like 338 Win Mags to shoot those, shoot those
And
sitka blacktail deer.
just to throw this out there, I did chronograph that 95,
Okay.
the federal 95
Mhm.
VMAX, whatever. I was shooting it from the Aero Precision Solus,
Okay.
which I absolutely love that rifle. So nice. And the average velocities that I was getting was um, 3,181 feet per second with a
There you go.
max 3208, almost 3209, and a minimum of 3167.
Okay.
So,
So not bad for about 50 feet per second spread on total spread. No, it's not bad for rifle ammo in factory.
mhm.
Yeah, it's pretty good. I've actually had spreads farther than that, and then the rounds be really accurate. It's just like once you go to 800 yards, though, that spread is going to make it drop differently. But yeah,
Oh, yeah, yeah. Mhm.
um, yeah, but no, that's like I was guessing 3,200 feet per second. Yeah, that's
Yep, that's good guess.
yeah,
And that's the thing with you know, a lot of people think Kansas, you could be shooting out to 500-600 yards fairly easy, and in a lot of cases you can. For the areas that I hunt, to be honest with you, if I'm shooting 200 yards at a deer, that's actually surprising. To be honest with you,
yeah.
most of all of my rifle shots have been well under 150 yards. Um, I took out a good friend of mine who got her first deer last December, and her shot was at 137 yards. So, I mean, so there was a buck on opening day of rifle season last season. There was a buck across the field from me. I calculated it being at like 260-ish yards, give or
Right.
take. But I'd already filled my buck tag, so I was just like, "Oh, cool! There's a buck. Great! It's bigger than the one that I shot earlier this year. Wonderful!"
There you go.
That's how it goes.
Says Rato here says Tyan out of Pennsylvania sells a 50 and 45 titanium cans. I bought the 450 Dragoon model to use on my 4570s and 458 SoCon. A very quiet and good can. Cool. I'll have to look into them. Thank you very much, Rato. Let's see. Hotep here had a great question. Do you ever see silencers getting delisted from the NFA and possibly get a tax rebate to encourage use? No. And the reason why is most Republicans are a rhino. Like like it would have to come from the courts.
Yep.
The NFA would have to be um, struck down by the courts, which there's a good case going on that might strike down at least this SBR portion. And then there's a case for the Texas silencer cases going on too. So there is that. But like I don't see them making it all the way to the Supreme Court. I see the same court going to reprimand the lower court and send it back down for remand and send it back down, like they've done for a lot of cases.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, I don't see it coming on. What do you think?
So I had this exact same discussion with a buddy of mine, the guy I go duck hunting with, and we solve all the world's problems every single time we go out, duck
If
hunting.
only we could elect you emperor.
I know,
I mean,
right?
president. I mean,
No,
yeah.
yeah, I would be benevolent, but
Yeah.
the interesting perspective that he had, and I agree with it, is as it stands right now, we don't really want suppressors to be pulled off the NFA, and there's a very specific reason why. We have suppressors because we get to pay for the privilege of having suppressors, and it is governed by the National Firearms Act, which means that the government has said you can have these things, you just have to pay a tax stamp. If you remove those from the NFA, then all of a sudden it becomes a device that could be banned because now there's no legislation governing it. So
It's a fair
if
point.
if we do pull them off the NFA, I mean, the suppressor companies are going to make mad money for the first year until there is a tragedy of some sort, and the individual uses a suppressor for that tragedy. You guys know where I'm going with this. More than likely is a red flag. The FBI probably knew about them, and
Hmm.
you
Yeah.
know, um, the um, the immediate response is to ban suppressors. Uh, the the law enforcement couldn't get to the bad guy fast enough because they were confused as to where the fire, where the shooting was coming from and all that type of stuff. So as it stands, as much as I hate it, as much as I hate licking the boots of the government or asking the crown for permission to do something, um, at the very least, they can't take it away. So that's my perspective. I could be completely off base, but
Yeah.
I
That's a
really
fair
did
point.
agree with him. Yeah,
Yeah. Like I see your point. I do think they should be taken off because they shouldn't be regulated at all.
correct.
Because
I believe that too.
nothing with firearms should be regulated at all. Because if the government can make it for themselves, then the people should be able to have it for themselves. That's the whole point of the Second Amendment.
Hmm.
All right. I will compromise on nuclear bombs. Other than that, the people should be able to have it for themselves. Like, right. And to be honest with you, I've thought about this through, like a committee that you would serve on like jury duty. One person picked by the governor from each state. They get control of the nuclear. They get all 50 people get control of the nuclear bombs. The president has to run each launch code through them, and that would be the people controlling nuclear bombs.
Mm.
And then after that, you want to own an F-16? Go buy you an F-16. Hope you have a couple of $1 billion. You know, you want to go buy an AIM Sidewinder missile? Go buy you an AIM Sidewinder missile. If I can't order the AIM Sidewinder missile on Amazon and have it delivered with 2 days prime shipping, my Second Amendment rights are being violated. That's how I feel about it. But to your point, in the suppressor cases, the ATF is arguing that suppressors aren't firearms, so they have the right to ban them, or regulate them. And so, if they did come off, there'd be. I don't even think they'd wait for a tragedy. I think there'd be an instant bill in Congress, wouldn't pass the first time, and then when the tragedy happened,
Hmm.
there'd be, yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Incidentally, I came across a post on X that kind of goes to your concept of the nuclear codes and everything.
mhm,
There was a constitutional amendment that was presented in like 1936 or 1938, somewhere in there, that gave the decision for the United States to go to war over to the people. In order for us to go to war, we would have to vote collectively. Everybody would have to vote to go to war. And I saw that, and that's like 90 years ago. And I was like, holy cow, why can't we do that now? I mean, we're the ones that are going to have to go over and do something, hopefully overseas. I
right,
definitely don't want to don't want to have to go through what I did on home soil. But um, if we are the ones that are going to have to spill our blood, I think that we should have a say so. I don't know if we necessarily get the ultimate say so, because obviously national security, and you've got certain intelligent aspects that can't be released to everybody, and so on and so forth. But at the same time, I still think that we should have a say on whether or not we go. Um,
Agreed.
and
And that was the whole point of Congress being able to declare war, not the president.
Correct. Yeah.
I mean, that's where our say is. If we don't like what the Congress did, we should redo our Congress, right?
Hmm.
And and that was also why originally the states appointed their senators. You didn't get to vote for them, so the states had control over Congress.
Hmm.
All right,
Hmm.
and we need to go back to that. That's like, I mean, a lot of people wouldn't like that, but hey, vote for the right people in your state. They'll send the right person to the Senate.
Hmm.
Um, and so, but we wouldn't have a lot of these things if we'd still had that. But I kind of agree with you. Like, there should be some type of vote by the people, or like alternatively, the individual state legislatures, 2/3 of them have to vote to go to war. You
Yeah.
know,
Hmm.
like something like that. I think that would be like even better compromise that might actually pass these days.
Or,
But
I mean, it
yeah,
could even be down to not necessarily like an electoral college, but if one state says we don't want to go to war, then their representatives have to vote against it. You
yeah,
know, um,
mhm,
and I understand that there's also a situation where the logistics behind doing something extremely quickly would be very difficult. Like if we go back to 9/11, we had boots on the ground in Afghanistan in a matter of what, 14 days,
something
something to
like
that
that.
effect. Yeah.
Yeah, something to that effect.
So having a vote within 2 weeks, that does, that makes it a little bit more difficult. But at the same time,
Right.
you know,
That's where I think emergency sessions of the state legislatures could be called by the governor.
mhm,
You could have a 2/3 majority, or even like a 50. Like back in the day, they used 2/3 majority, 3/4. What's wrong with 55%? Like,
yeah.
have 55%. There's nothing wrong
Some
with that.
some would say a preponderance.
Yeah.
That's your word for the day. Preponderance, 51%.
Yep. Have to vote for it. I'm going to answer Hotep's question here. 100 Years' War went right up into the French and Indian War. No, French and Indian War was 1750s. It was also the French and Indian War was really the First World War. Like it was all over the globe.
Who started it?
Um,
There's one individual that started the whole mess.
wasn't uh Frederick the Great?
Nope, 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 nope,
Nope,
nope,
that was a
nope.
little
It
late.
goes, nope. It just goes.
Nope.
You have to go down to the micro level of the individual who started that whole thing.
Nah, you're gonna have to school me on this one.
Oh, he became the first president of the United States.
Hmm. George
There,
Washington.
George Washington
Hmm.
was leading a small
That's right.
element,
Yep, I
and
remember this. Yeah.
came across a band of Indians and ended up shooting a French guy by accident. And there you go.
There you go. Yeah, I mean the French War it was called the 7 Years' War in Europe, and yeah, and I do know Frederick the Great was involved in the 7 Years' War in Europe. That's why I said Frederick the Great, but yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah.
Um, but to answer Hotep's question, no, the 100 Years' War was really like was it 116 or 126 years.
Yep.
It was not continuous war for 100 years. Like nobody has that kind of money. It has to stop and pause every once in a while. Um, but it was 1340s to 1450s. It was so long that the final battles, the French had superior cannons, and the English still had their longbowmen. They had some cannons too, but like that's how long the war lasted. Like gunpowder weapons are being used towards the end of this war when it was bow and arrow and spear and sword at the beginning, and knights and armor. Yeah, so it's really is a interesting time. But yeah, no, it was
Mhm.
1340s and 1750s for the French and Indian War. Correct.
Yep.
Correct me if
I
I'm wrong.
think so. Yeah, yeah. It's been so long since I've been in college. I'm a history major, but it's been so long since I've even dived into that stuff.
Yeah. So I used to teach. I'm a PE major, but I did that to coach football, and I used to teach in Georgia. I taught Georgia history, 8th grade history, which
Oh,
was
nice.
essentially facts about Georgia with U.S. history with facts about Georgia thrown in.
Hmm.
So that's kind of what it is. I mean, I had to teach bleeding Kansas and all that kind of stuff. Um, yeah. Let's see. 100 Years War. What is it any dumber than us going to Iraq? Okay. I'm assuming you were there.
In
Uh,
Iraq, I
yes.
was, yeah,
Yeah. Do you
and
want to
Afghanistan, yeah.
Do you want to answer these questions? This
I
question?
mean, I mean,
Because I don't have the perspective you do. So
I so I will tell you from a perspective that I still remember. I mean, we're talking over 20 years ago. I was all for the Iraq War. The
yes, I
whole
was too.
not 9/11. Let's go get them. The color on our flag don't run and all that type of stuff. And now I look back and I'm just like, holy crap, we just wasted 20 years. I think that. We've done more damage than good in the Middle East. We have destabilized that region
Yeah,
far more than we would have ever thought that we would have done. And this is going to make me sound really bad, but if if you guys haven't seen the movie Vice, I would encourage you guys to sit down and watch that movie. Obviously, there is political leanings one way. You can guess which way it is. It's coming out of Hollywood.
right.
But but even if 10% of that movie is correct and real, holy cow. How badly were we duped into going to Afghanistan and Iraq? Why do we go to Afghanistan for someone who did everything from Saudi Arabia? Why didn't we turn our freaking gaze to Saudi Arabia? Because they have all the oil. And he wasn't actually in Saudi Arabia. He was in Afghanistan. Oh, well, that's wrong because he was in Pakistan. Why didn't we
Right.
talk about Pakistan? Well, because they're allied with us. Well, you see, all of it's so stupid. All of it's so stupid, and
Mhm.
turns out, if you really want to go down to the rabbit hole, which you're going to get me started again here real quick. But I mean, how is it that the CIA knew about some of these guys that were on these planes flying into the Twin Towers, and how did one of their passports just randomly turn up a couple blocks away on the ground? How did Building 7 freaking fall on its own? I mean, we can really dive into how stupid all of it
Sure.
is.
Yeah.
um,
Oh yeah.
but the political fallout from Afghanistan and Iraq were just ridiculous, and how that correlates to the French and Indian War, I'm pretty sure it's fairly similar. But could I speak to the eaches on that? I don't know, but at the end of the day, um, as much as I love firearms and I love training and everything like that, I've turned into a massive pacifist. You know, um,
Yeah.
the only time that I will ever take up arms is if someone tries to impede on my liberty, or tries to harm me or my family. Um,
Correct.
Outside of that, I don't care. Just stay off my lawn. If it's outside of our borders,
Right.
uh, you know.
Yeah. I get where you're coming up from. Um. Yeah. I definitely would say there's some things there. Like, to me, the most obvious conspiracy is the war in Libya and the embassy bomb attack there and stuff like that. Um. But like a few weeks before, Gaddafi said he was going to take oil payments in gold. What would that do to the U.S. dollar? I mean, technically, when Clinton, Hillary, uh, when she uh, when she started the Libyan war for that reason, she saved the American dollar, and we're not experiencing hyperinflation like we're experiencing inflation. We're not experiencing hyperinflation where you take wheelbarrows full of money to go buy bread at the store, because that's where we were headed. If somebody takes oil payments in gold, Saudi Arabia flips, takes
Mhm.
oil payments in gold. That's where we're going.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll be able to take all this ammo I got by and start trading it for squirrel hides.
Mhm.
So,
Well, the other interesting thing when it comes to Libya too was that Gaddafi was actually looking to create a currency very much like the euro, but only in Africa.
yep,
It would been like the African dollar or the African or whatever they wanted to call it,
right,
and that was going to be a direct threat or a direct competitor because of all of the natural resources in Africa,
right,
which is another very interesting perspective. But we also have to understand too that when it comes to Libya, and we talk about all of these Middle Eastern oil countries and stuff like that, we were a net exporter not more than like 6 years ago
right.
of oil, and then you know the presidency changes over, and then all of a sudden, freaking gas ends up being almost $4 a gallon in some parts of the United States. Why
Like
is that?
here, yeah,
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 why is that? I've never been really too concerned when it comes to like the petrodollar, because at the end of the day, um, our currency is backed by as much as I hate to say this, our currency is backed by aircraft carriers. You
yes,
know, so
true.
yeah.
That's true. Yeah, nuclear missile silos and the aircraft carriers. Yeah.
Yep, that's
So,
exactly right.
all right, here we're gonna go back to a gun question here.
Yeah, that sounds
Okay,
great.
yeah. All right. If you had to pick only one Magnum cartridge, what would it be?
Ooh. I'm not a Magnum guy. Let's see. I would say for me, because I've never shot it, but I have a rifle in my gun safe. It's actually my dad's, but I would say 338 Winchester Magnum.
Okay,
I've
cool.
never shot it. I have no idea.
I got one right here in this, right here. I have killed a grizzly bear with one. So, yeah, bring it up here. Let's go.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah.
um,
Yeah, I think it's a Model 70, and it's been shot.
okay.
It's like 2 rounds have been shot through it. The guy that my dad bought it from shot 2 rounds out of it, and
Said nope.
yeah, he was like, "Nope, you can buy this. I'll sell it to you for $200." And the guy was like, and my dad was like, "Sold. Let's do
So,
it."
yep. Yeah, you should do a video on that. Like, be like 6'5" Needmore guy shoots a 338. Yeah, like big old font and on the yeah. So, but no, I have one. It's a Ruger M77 Mark One. Like, is all you can find are the Mark Twos. This one has the Tang safety in the back on
Okay.
a lot like a Savage has,
Mhm.
and it's it's awful trigger. It's adjustable, but I've adjusted it all the way both ways, and it's still awful.
Mm.
Turn that screw both ways. So I'd actually have to get out there and sand parts of the stock to put a new trigger in it, and I don't want to do that. This one has a limb saver and a muzzle brake from Wild West Custom Guns here in Anchorage. They had a TV show for a little while,
Mm.
and custom muzzle brake, and it's still. If you're shooting 250 grain, you shoot 12 to 15 shots, you're done.
Mhm.
If you're shooting 185s, yeah, you could shoot 40, 50 rounds. You're dead broke after shooting 40, 50 rounds. But, you're going to die penniless, So there is that. Seal bombs, first snow of the year.
Nice.
I guess I'm going to answer this question too. If I had to pick only one Magnum cartridge, it would be the 300 Winchester Magnum. And for me, it's the ease of getting ammunition. Like they're even with the ammo crisis and the prices today, I have seen boxes of on the shelf up here because we can't order online because that's go through import export. On the shelf up here, I've seen boxes for $44. And if you wanted to do 300 rum or 3378 Weatherby or some another 30 caliber that's a lot faster, even 300 Weatherby, you're going to be paying 70, 80, 90, $150 a box. And that's just not uncommon. And it's just not that common. So you'd have to hand load. I like hand loading anyway, and prefer to kill game with rounds that I've hand loaded because they're more accurate and I know what the bullet's going to do and what my range is and all that kind of stuff. But like when it comes to that 300 Winchester Magnum, plus there's some really great semi-autos in 300 Winchester Magnum. Now you're talking 150 grain full metal jacket boat tails, and you got essentially ball rounds for 300 Winchester Magnum that are going 3250. With the right powder, I could send those full metal jacket boat tails about 34. 3450.
Mhm.
I have an extra long barrel though, so my
Mhm.
barrel's 28 inches. So that and with the right powder, I mean, Great Lakes Firearms makes a 5 round AR-10, 300 Winchester Magnum, and it looks like the same quality as an Arrow Precision, and it's a semi-auto AR-10, just a stretched out, and it's only like $1,200. You don't have to spend the money on the Nemo and all those that are like $4,000 or $5,000. There is like a literal legitimate $1,200, $1,300 300 Winchester Magnum AR-10 out there, and you load that with 130 grain M80A1 balls with the steel tips. Man, that's gonna any car rolling up on your neighborhood, you're gonna have it stopped with holes in the radiator and the engine. So it's
Yeah.
like, yeah. And I got some of those loaded up in 300 Magnum, and I don't know if you saw the video. Yeah, you did. You commented on the how was it, the LA police gear armor.
Yeah. Mhm.
And I don't know if you saw that fist-sized back face
Mhm.
deformation on that
Mhm.
thing. Yeah, but those things are going. I did it with the Bowtac too, but I chronographed them first, and they were going 3782 at the muzzle.
Good night.
Yeah,
Enough to
and they
stop your heart.
yeah. Amazingly though, Tacticon Armament sent me some ammo. They said we want you to shoot it with that. We want you to shoot with that and your 22 250. I'm like, okay, cool, challenge accepted. Which I kind of like. They like most companies are like, you want to shoot it with 22 250 and steel tips? Oh no, you know. But they emailed me and said we want you to shoot it with this. Yeah, send us the footage. I'm like, okay, and
Yeah.
I shot it with that, and but I also shot it with the 300 Win Mag, and their trauma pad beneath it with some ballistics gel, and without the trauma pad, the 22 250 like left a bruise in the ballistics gel about that big, but it didn't make a hole. The 300 Winchester made a deep 2 or 3 finger hole, uh,
Wow.
which I'm sure we can make fun of jokes there. But it left a deep finger hole almost all the way through the ballistics gel block.
Yeah.
Put the trauma pad underneath it, nothing. So those trauma pads do their job. So yeah, I was impressed. At least that trauma pad did its job.
And that was
So
on the, Tacticon armament?
yep,
It
that was on the
it
tactical armament.
was that their
Uh,
steel,
n-
armor or
no, that was their level 4 ceramic stuff.
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
Yeah, and it had just as bad of deformation on the back as the LA police gear.
Yeah.
So
I talked to Tacticon Armament over the phone, and we talked about doing some ballistic plate testing and stuff like that. They wanted to send me their steel
mhm.
armor, and I'm just like, to be honest with you, if you send it to me, I don't know if I'm even going to do anything with it because I'm just not a big steel AR 500 steel body armor
Yeah,
type of guy. I used to be. I was like, "Oh yeah, this is
it's
totally
cheap.
fine.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
yeah.
it's inexpensive." Well, now you can get the ceramic plates with
Hmm. Yeah.
polyethylene
Yep.
wrapped
Hmm.
for like, I mean, the LA police gear level fours are
115.
130.
Yeah.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, some of
The RMA, which is one of the best ones you can buy, is 1155. They're like 20% off right now.
mm,
Check out my MeWe page.
there you
Man,
go. There you go.
I'm sure you have a link with them too.
Nope, not yet. Not yet.
Yeah, I would get a link with them if you could, or through Avon Link or something, because um they make the only level 4 women's shaped.
Ooh.
Which with my man boobs right now, I'm not fit and fire. I'm fat and fire. With my man boobs, might be pretty good. Um,
Hmm.
but yeah, they make that, and then like that one, just like with 22 250, it didn't even backface deformation. And I took Fort Scott, because this was how the ammo crisis was. I found a box of Fort Scott 2E, tumble upon impact, 7 millimeter away. I pulled the bullets. They're 120 grain, loaded them into 7 mag with Barnes data because they're all copper bullets. And I got them going about 3570, 120 grain out of a 26-inch 7 mag.
Yeah.
Man, that RMA didn't even hardly face deformation, not compared to the 300 Win Mag ones that you
Mhm,
saw.
mhm.
I mean,
Yeah.
it wasn't like it was there, but not even that. I used the same plate and did all 5 different rounds of 22 250, everything from a 40 grain thick 40 grain full metal jacket, 55 grain full metal jacket, and then those M8 55A1 steel tips and the
Mhm,
regular green tips.
mhm.
And like it just stopped it like crazy. But I think they list priced 159, but it's 20% off for October right now with the
Hmm.
code that they have on their stuff. So it's like, holy crap! Like that would be a $115 plate, $120 plate, and
Hmm.
it's like I would say its quality is a good notch above the LA police gear or the Botac and other lower end plates.
Hmm.
In fact, I wouldn't call it a lower end plate. I would just say I know when I bought one for the channel, they gave me 10% off, and with the shipping, it was $200 to get that shipping here, and all I wanted to do was shoot that 7 mag at it, and it was $200, and I didn't make that money back on the video, of course, because it's got like 7,000 8,000 views, and it's just one of those that is like I had to do it for my sanity. I had to eat
Yeah.
rice that month and spend $200 for my sanity to see if 7 mag would do it. So
Yeah. Yeah.
we got this wrong earlier. Leif Erikson, not Eric
Leaf.
Leifson.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, duh.
Of
You're a
course.
history major. I'm a former history teacher.
I know,
There's the
right?
American
Leave it.
education system at work there for you.
100%. I went to a state school, so yeah.
There we go. Yeah, Leif Erikson.
Thanks, Clay.
Yeah, 357 Magnum or the Dodge Magnum. There you go.
Yeah. Hmm.
I agree, David Thompson. Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, we were talking about body armor. Hotep asked a question. He was like, the philosophy of use of body armor,
Hmm.
and it's in my perspective over the years, it's actually changed quite a bit. Whereas in like 2019 to now, um, back in like 2018, 19, 20, if you would have asked me, um, body armor, if would you hit the streets with body armor or no body armor? My very first response back then would have been body armor 100%. 100%. I'm not going anywhere without body armor. I'm not going to wear just like an H harness chest rig unless I have body armor underneath of it. Now I've changed my method of thought process as like body armor is much like a tourniquet. You definitely want to have one, but you're probably more likely and not going to use it. Um, if especially like where I live, let's say that the summer of love turns around and happens again,
Hmm.
and it touches your community. The fact that you might gather a few of your neighbors just to patrol your little neighborhood, maybe your block or whatever, just by you showing a presence and showing that you are willing to use force to protect your neighborhood is far more of a deterrent than walking around in body armor and stuff like that. Plus, you get freaking extremely tired. It'll
Hmm.
beat you down real quick. So,
Yeah.
obviously, one of the things that my co-host on my podcast, Hefe, he talks about doing like a site survey of your surrounding area. How much crime is there? What's the likelihood of civil unrest happening? Um, you know, uh, eh, how many people live in your area? Where's some of the best water and those types of things? Understanding all of that and pulling it together to devise a plan will tell you whether or not you need to have body armor on all the time. I can tell you if I live in Minnesota, if I'm walking out the door when there's civil unrest like the Summer of Love, yeah, I'm going to have body armor on. Here, probably not. You know,
Hmm.
so my philosophy is treat it like a tourniquet. You want to have it, but you don't necessarily need to use it. So
Yeah. Don't need to carry it everywhere. Yeah.
mhm,
Yeah. That's an interesting perspective. So I only have body armor for like if they're coming into my neighborhood,
mhm,
if it's coming like in my neighborhood's really different than I mean, my neighborhood is 13 houses on one street with a 6,000 foot mountain there, a river there, and we're pretty much rural Alaska other than that. Like,
mhm,
and we've got a highway that goes to the main highway that goes to Anchorage. We're 35 minutes from Anchorage.
yeah,
So it would be conceivable that if either the military turned on the civilians and tried to take all the guns, that I would have to protect my neighborhood, or which I don't think it is going to happen, but or if like the military basically shut down because there's an economic collapse and they can't pay anybody, all right, and then they're trying to rival gangs of looting in Anchorage, they would eventually come this way. Um, I would wear body armor for that. I would also probably wear body armor to go prevent them from coming this way. Um, so things like that.
Hmm.
Um, and won't tell how I would do that, but um, like, there's no way with my neuropathy and bulging disc in my back that I can wear body armor and be comfortable with 8-pound plates. I couldn't be comfortable at all. There's no way. Like I'm gonna have like pinched nerves and electrical shocks running down my legs,
Hmm.
from wearing that all day. Like there's just no way.
Yeah.
Um, so it'd be like wearing a 90-pound pack. You're not gonna patrol with that.
Yeah. I
You're
mean,
not gonna you're not gonna bug out with a bug out bag. Live in your
exactly.
bug out location. So
And even when I was in the military and deployed overseas, we didn't wear our body armor 24/7. We had it readily accessible to throw on, but even throughout the regular day. And in some cases, in some very limited cases, there are individuals who would be like on guard duty, not wearing body armor as well, because of where they were stationed, because of the buildup around them. They may be in a bunker that doesn't necessarily require them to have body armor on. So I know that when I was inside, I was a tanker for um, OIF 1 in 2003, Baghdad, Iraq. I didn't wear body armor inside the tank.
no,
Um,
that would seem
yeah, you would think so, and then all of a sudden,
just the
the
room, like the
yeah,
space it would save you seems like it would be
it would be pretty tight. But then all of a sudden, uh, you had, oh man, really stretching my memory here, but the the type of IEDs that had a plate that would form.
mhm.
Damn, I can't remember. I want to say like I keep on want to say
Like
EMP, but it's not an EMP. It's um anyway,
the
yeah,
RPGs, the rocket propelled grenades that are with the design with the armor piercing tip that it forms into that cone shape, right? Like
that is, yes,
something
that's
similar.
something
So
similar to that. That's
okay,
EFP maybe. But
okay,
anyway, it's a forming projectile. So basically, when the IED goes off, it's like a flat piece of metal, and then as it goes off, it bends it to a
right.
point, and then we found that they were started using those on tanks, and they were actually penetrating through and through in a tank. So then they're like, oh, maybe we should wear our ballistic plates inside the freaking tank. But needless to say, there are specific cases that you want to have body armor and you want to wear it, but you just need to understand what those thresholds are and be prepared to transition back and forth one way or the other. So there we go.
Cool. Centerfire go boom. 7 PRC or old reliable 7 mag? I'm going with old reliable 7 mag, mainly because I already have one and I have a hand load for it that's lights out, and you know my scope hasn't knocked off at Leupold with Leupold rings and bases hasn't knocked off in like 3 years. So it's like, why not? Like I'm just gonna keep it like it is and just love on that thing and let it rip because that's my baby. It's my 7 mag. So 7 PRC. If it got My problem is Hornady designed it around the Reloader 26 powder, which is the only thing in that case shape and that bullet weight to get 7 mag velocities or better with that type of powder charge and that type of small um, casing. And so when Reloader 26, like no hand loaders have been able to find that in like the last 4 years.
Mhm.
So Hornady had a bunch of it, designed the round around it, and then they came out with the round and realized they didn't have enough for production, and they're not going to get any more Reloader 26 because Alliance is in Sweden and they got most of their gun cotton from China. And so to make that formula, they didn't have the supplies anymore, and so they're concentrated on some better sailors. I was able to get Reloader 22 powder and some 19 and some power pistol and some blue dot, but I'm not able to get any 26, and nobody has for a long time, or 17, which gives the two best powders to give the best velocities in a lot of cartridges. And Hornady just came out with a letter apologizing about it, and it's like, well, what, you can't come out with something on the tail end of an ammo crisis, which I think we're still at,
Mm.
and you can't come out with something that's based on a powder you can't get.
Yeah.
All right. And I'm not saying there aren't other good powders. There are. And some of the Vitavori will get up there. They're just not popular and all that kind of stuff. And the like Federal, I think, is probably going to use Vitavori and stuff like that. So I'd say 7 mag. Stick with what you know. There's 18 different powders that can make a 7 mag go at the speed you want and get the accuracy you want, just what your gun likes. Go ahead. Why don't you? I'll quit rambling about that.
No, to be frankly honest with you, when it comes to a lot of these larger calibers, like 7 mag and 7 PRC, I know zero when it comes to that. You make all the jokes that you want. I'm just a boring 6.5 Creedmoor type of guy, you know. I, one question I
And you
have for
don't
you.
have a man bun.
um, what is the parent case of the 7 PRC?
I believe it's the 6.5 PRC, which has the parent case. I think is the 338 RCM, if I'm not mistaken.
Well,
I'd have to go back. I think they mouthed open the 6.5 PRC a little bit. I could be completely wrong and off base on that.
yeah,
Somebody will correct me in the comment section or in the side chat, I'm sure.
yeah.
And so it's a shorter case, but the Creedmoor neck angle
Mhm,
instead of a more traditional like 7 mag.
yeah.
But the whole thing of it is the barrel twist is 1 and 8. If you get the same or a little bit better velocities with 1 and 8 twist, I can shoot a 190 grain high BC bullet, just like the Creedmoor can shoot a much higher BC bullet in a 140 grain than 308 can. Like I don't even think a 175 grain 308 hits up there where the BC is for the 6.5 Creedmoor in the 143 grain or 147 grain. And so like that's the whole purpose is it's to be the 7 PRC is to be the the 6.5 PRC, the 6.5 Creedmoor of the 7 millimeter Magnum
Mm,
world because there's
yeah.
a Weatherby Magnum, there's a Winchester Short Magnum, there's the 7 millimeter Remington Magnum, the most
Mhm,
popular. There's a 7 millimeter Shooting Times Westerner, which kind of tried to do the same thing before it was popular. And there's like all these 7 Magnum cartridge, but 7 PRC is supposed to be like let's bring it into a modern 190 grain match bullet. Let's put a 1 and 8 twist in it, that kind of thing. Like my thing is, okay, a 7 mag, the way I hand load it, I'm going to wear the barrel out in another 400 or 500 rounds. Why would I not put a 1 and 8 twist barrel on that?
right.
So, and
Right.
have much more prolific cases, much more powders that I can use. So,
You know, and I find it interesting with when it comes to a lot of these different cartridges that we're starting to see. You know, obviously you've got the question here: 7 mag or 7 PRC. Well, one of the new things that came in to the local shop that my um, friend and owner of the shop was asking me. He's like, "Hey, we got a 22 arc that's." That's on its way in. That would be a great video for you, you know, to talk about the brand new cartridge, the 22 ARC. And I'm like, you know, I don't know anything about it. And
right.
so we got together and started Googling, okay, so 22 arc, what's the parent case of the 22 arc? Well, it's the 6 arc. Okay,
Hmm.
well, what's the parent case of the 6 arc? Well, it's the 6.5 Grindle. It's like, oh, okay. Well, what's the parent case to the 6.5 Grindle? It's 7.62 by 39. so,
Yeah.
so so 22 arc is essentially 7.62 by 39 with
Neck
extra
down.
steps.
Yep.
Yeah. But
Ugh.
again, I sit here and say, oh well, I'm just a simple 6.5 Creedmoor guy. But let's face it, 6.5 Creedmoor is just 308 neck down, right? Um,
Mm,
for the most part, right?
no, I would say no. Um,
No.
so a lot of these modern cartridges have some things to them that and I got this out. So I'm gonna learn you up good here,
Mhm,
Professor. All right. Um, so this is a 300 Winchester Magnum casing. Okay. A lot of your traditional cartridges have these same problems. Okay. So if I measure the inside of the case mouth right here at the case mouth, it's going to be 0.308 diameter. It better be, or my reloading press is wrong, right? Okay, my dies are wrong or something. Okay, but if I measure it again down here where the mouth meets the neck right here
mhm,
in 300 Winchester Magnum, it's actually 0.315.
okay.
And so what that does is create a natural instability and neck tension. All right. And so you have that bullet in there. It's being held at 0.308 here, but it's not being held right here,
Mhm,
essentially.
mhm,
Okay. And so as it jumps into the lands of the rifling, it can wobble. Okay, they all do. So if you have one with a rifle with a really long chamber that that bullet has to jump farther, your barrel harmonics are usually going to get off. That's why you hear hand loaders saying, "Oh, I'm loading it to 50 thousandths of an inch off the lens. I'm loading it to 20,000 uh, inch off." They'll say stuff like that. And what Creedmoor and what PRC cartridges are designed to do, okay, like 30 PRC, for example, this is 0.308, this is 0.308, this is a better case angle for the shoulder. And that gives you about 50 to 100 feet per second more just because of the pressure buildup, and allows you to use some even slower burning cartridges because of the pressure buildup, or powders, excuse me, slow
Mhm.
burning powders.
Right.
And that's what a lot of the PRC and the Creedmoor originally and some of the ARC cartridges are designed to do, is allows you to seat out those big, heavy, high BC bullets in that caliber, that diameter, and put them in a casing that's going to hold them correctly so they don't wobble. All right. And they really notice, like 300 Winchester Magnum, if you're using 190 grains, for example, or 208 grain uh, match bullets, like it's going to wobble a lot past 600 yards. That wobble is going to throw you off. It's going to tumble in the wind. It's going to get blown in the wind a lot more because of that wobble. I mean, it's not even enough to notice at 100 yards when you're shooting a group, but it's enough to notice at like 6, 7, 800 yards, and that's why the PRC is there. Now, that's not saying you can't make a 1,000-yard shot with a 300 Win Mag or a mile shot. Yes, you can.
Mhm.
All right, and like it's been doing it for years. The whole point of the PRC was PRCs, the Creedmoor, the ARCs, is to give us a better casing, to design a more efficient casing, to design a better projectile or higher BC projectiles. So that, I mean, that's the whole point of them.
Right.
So I say yes. If you're hunting caribou up here on 2 days drive from my house up on the northern coastal plain of Alaska, and you're hunting caribou, absolutely, like a 7 PRC is not a bad idea. Um, but for most people, it's going to take a 600-yard shot on caribou. That's all you need is a 7 Mac. So that's where I'm at with these. So when you say just a 6.5 Creedmoor, I've killed a caribou with a 6.5 Creedmoor, 127 grain Barnes LRX. I killed that moose with a 127 grain Barnes LRX. It was just going a little faster out of my 6.5 by 284 Norma. So definitely, like, those cartridges are designed for a certain thing, and a lot of our older people who are just dedicated to older cartridges aren't willing to trade a lot, especially during ammo crises, and trade
Mhm.
up for those cartridges. I mean, it's it's like getting the reliability of a Toyota, but you're in the 1970s gas crisis and you don't want Detroit to go out of business. That's
Mhm.
kind of what it is. Like, there's no doubt that a Toyota is way more reliable than a Chevy or Ford, Um, but are you going to buy something made from Japan in the 1970s gas crisis? I kind of see that, are we going to buy these new cartridges that, really enrich Hornady? I will say the 22 ARC is a load of crap. And the reason why I say that is they are advertising it to be as good as 22 250.
There's no way.
Yeah, exactly. They are advertising it, and like they have that 70 grain ELDXV or 60 grain ELDXV, and they're saying, "Oh, it's 3,300 feet per second. It's a 60 grain at 3,300 feet per second. It's just like a 22 250." What? I got 62 grain steel kit M855 A1s going 3630. I mean, it's
Yeah.
like I'm 330 feet per second faster than you. So a lot of those cartridges, they'll find a weak cartridge, a weak example of that cartridge, put their cartridge above it. I've seen Remington do it with the 30 Remington AR that was a flop and stuff like that.
Yeah, I'm dumb when it comes to this type of stuff. But if someone ever told me that, um, that 22 arcs just as good as 22 250, I would have been like, "There's no way, there is absolutely no way." And Mike Garcia says it. What's the power difference? That right there. I mean, okay, sure, maybe you're comparing the 22 arc to a very heavy bullet with 22 250, that the velocities are pretty slower, as slower, but you still then have that mass, so then that foot pounds of energy, um,
Yeah.
ends up being lopsided. So do you want velocity? Do you want foot-pounds of energy? What are you looking for? Um,
And
if you're
typically, foot-pounds of energy is best in a medium weight bullet with the highest speed.
Mhm,
Like, that 150 grain or 130 grain I shoot out of 300 Win Mag will get me 39, but like foot-pounds of energy, it's crazy. But generally speaking, your mid-weights, my 150 grains are getting in my 308 are getting in that high 27, 2800 foot-pounds of energy.
mhm,
Um, they're they're insanely like, I have to back the powder charge down because the suppressor adds enough back pressure to blow the primer.
mhm,
So I'm
yeah.
like, I'm having to back my loads down. What do you think of ELDX bullets? Wonderfully accurate, horrible on game. They bust apart on bone.
We talked
That's what
about
I
that.
think of these. We just went over that.
Yeah,
But yeah,
and I've taken 3 deer with it,
yeah,
and but by and to Chuck's point is, you know, I don't think I don't think that, the what happened with the terminal effects on the deer were probably the most ideal, but I
yeah,
usually shoot in the chest. That's usually where I aim, and that's usually because I know that I'm not going to get much meat from a white-tailed deer in the chest. So that's where I aim, and I've been able to drop 3 deer. Um, but
yeah. They
I will
work. I mean, you can drop kill with them. So yeah,
but,
go ahead.
I've been listening to you for so long about, everything surrounding 6.5 Creedmoor that I think this year I will probably I think I've made the decision I'm gonna order, I don't know, 4 or 5 boxes of that, LRX, the 125? 129?
127, 127.
127 LRX, yeah,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
just be done with it. Um,
Yeah.
uh
If your gun shoots them accurately, like there's
mhm,
still the idea that, if my Bergara shoots the ELDX the best from factory ammo. In fact, it's one of my tightest even with my hand loads. I've got some tight hand loads, but it shoots that the best. It likes some Norma match the best. If you put that ELDX bullet right there at the base of the brainstem, like it doesn't matter. Like a lot of people, I get caught up on the bullets, but everything has ear holes, right? So it's like, you know, I would not use ELDX up here because of my possibility of running into something
mhm,
much bigger.
mhm,
And my 6.5 Creedmoor is still more powerful than my 44 Magnum on my chest. So like if the 6.5 Creedmoor is in my hand or in my arms and not on my pack, I'm using the 6.5 Creedmoor for bear defense. You know, it's just that's what's happening because if it's in my hands, it's faster than dropping it and pulling out the 44 Magnum because it's all about speed during that time. And so, like, there's nothing wrong with like if that's the most accurate load, SSTs, ELDX, Nozer, ballistic tip, whatever doesn't blow apart like crazy in your gun. Back the speed down a little bit. If you hand load them, they'll be fine.
mhm,
Um, I know I had a guy comment earlier. He was debating me on this, and he goes, "Well, you need to try it with my load because I shoot a 200 grain ELDX out of a 30-06 at like 2550 or 2600 feet per second." And I go, "Heavy and slow is the way to go." There's bullets like that. Like you can go heavy and slow and still have a good thing. And that's kind of what 6.5 Creedmoor is. It's heavy and it's a little slower. It's in the 2700 range. It's not.
mhm,
You shoot them out of a 7 mag at 2990 or 3000, something like that, they're going to break apart. So,
mhm, yep.
yeah. I'm sorry I interrupted you there. You killed 3
Oh,
deer.
oh, just
Yeah.
killed 3 deer. Again, after listening to you, I've never really considered what the bullet does as it's, you know, penetrating and flying through a deer. I just see a hole on one side and a larger hole on the other side. To me, that's good. But
Yeah, no,
then
that is good. Like, so if ELNDX is doing that for you. Now, I have heard they've actually thickened the jacket on the back of it in the last few years.
mhm,
So that might actually help it.
yeah. And
So,
and specifically, I'm using the Hornady Precision Hunter.
right.
That's the cartridge that I always use, have been using. But I mean, it's starting to approach 45, $50 per box here, you know?
Hmm.
I think, I've been doing ammo videos where I just go to like a Academy Sports or Shields or something and just see what's ammo prices doing. And the Precision Hunter is somewhere around like $2.35 per um,
per shot. Yeah.
per shot. Yeah. Whereas what's the other one? There's another one that I started looking into. It's a Hornet. It's still a Hornady, but it's just
The
uh
Interlock American Whitetail.
yeah, yeah. I've
Hmm.
been looking into that because that's like $1.50 per round.
And
Um,
that's a much better bullet for terminal effects. It just doesn't tend to be as accurate in most guns. Some people
mm,
like it, you
mhm,
know. Like I tell people when they go buy a new gun, go buy a box of each kind of ammunition.
mhm.
Buy 3 boxes of the cheapest. Break your gun in. Shoot clean. Shoot clean. Shoot clean for the first 20, 40, 30 rounds. Shoot 3 clean. Shoot 3 clean. Break that barrel in because that really does make a difference. I used to think it was hogwash, but it really does make a difference. Somebody challenged me to it, and I'm like, oh shit, that does make a difference. Um, and then whatever after that, whatever it shoots best, that's what you buy. You know, like, and if it's precision hunter, yeah, shoot precision hunter. Like I don't like it. You're gonna get my wrath. I'm gonna throw it in the river if you come up here caribou hunting with it. But uh, and say here, try our LRX. But
Mhm.
um, like this 1,200-pound animal was taken with LRX, and then I had a 300-pound caribou cow taken with LRX, and
Yeah.
I will say this about copper bullets and LRX: a lot of times you'll hit and they'll shed a pedal, and that'll cause them to turn.
Mm,
And I've
mhm.
found that it's really common beneath 30 caliber,
Hmm.
really common. And so the caribou I shot with my 6.5 Creedmoor went in and it went in right behind the lungs, a little farther back than I wanted to. Came up and went out the top, closer to her shoulder blades. Went out the top of her spine.
Wow.
And that thing destroyed the lungs, destroyed the heart. Uh, it knocked her down because she couldn't get up because her it destroyed essentially all the nerves in the front shoulder area, and she couldn't get up, and she expired pretty quickly. She was way dead by the time we got here. Got to her, 288 yards, snowshoeing in the winter, 16 degrees. So
You're
my
burning
gun was,
some you're
yeah,
burning some calories that day.
yeah. I have bad leg neuropathy. The guy I go hunting with often runs marathons and stuff like that, and we're both music composers. So like we talk about some cool stuff, and he's actually a good music composer. So
Mhm,
that makes a difference, and I learned from him that way and stuff like that. So, but yeah, that's what I think about ELDX bullets. I mean, kind of is what it is.
mhm.
30. You have $30 a box for soft points there. All right, I'm getting on a plane. Pick me up at the airport. Yeah, concur. Preferring a bonded bullet like Swift A frame, nozzle partition. Federal terminal scent is also really, really good. Like if you're looking for a high BC and a bonded bullet, that federal terminal scent is not like if you're going to the store mark and you're gonna listen to me and not shoot ELDX, which I don't care if you do, don't. It
Mhm,
doesn't matter to me. But if you buy a box of 127 grain LRX, make sure your rifle's clean and you shoot a fouling shot because a lot of those all coppers put more copper down the barrel.
mhm.
Buy a box of federal terminal scent. Buy a box of each.
Yep.
And that federal terminal scent in half the rifles I've tried it in is a you know 0.75 or less group. You know,
Mhm.
so there is that. So I like that. I'm gonna try to. Jonathan King doesn't like deer season XPs.
Okay.
There you go. Yeah, 170 grain, 5 grain Barnes LRX for moose hunting. Um, sorry for your dog. Thank you. It was 2 or 3 years ago. She was the best, but she ate my favorite pair of pants. I finally forgave her when I went to the vet. So, you know how
Mhm.
dogs are. Yeah. Let's see. Looking for the caribou video. I have some older caribou videos, and my wife actually shot her caribou with 139 grain Barnes LRX out of my 7 mag. She had her 6.5 Creedmoor with her, and just didn't get a good shot. And this is the coolest story, Mark. You got this is one of those hunting stories you won't believe.
Yeah.
So we were walking in the day before the hunt starts. We're walking into our campsite about 3.5 miles from the road. We're going to camp in this area. We got pack rafts. We're going to get a caribou, put it in the pack rafts, float out of there, right?
Wow.
And that we did that. Okay.
That's
Um,
cool. That
yeah,
that's an
it's
adventure in itself right there.
oh yeah, I have the pack rafts. Come on up, but you just got to pay for your license and airfare, but dude. Because I'm going whether or not, so I'll pay for the gas. Like
Right on. Right. Yeah.
um, this year I did the same place, but moose hunting. Um, anyway, because the caribou population's down there, they're not giving out any permits there. Um, anyway, we talked to these moose hunters that are in there because it's September 1st. She had a September permit. I had one for the early August hunt. I had gotten one of my August hunt with the 7 mag, the 139 grain LRX at 459 yards, which is the best shot I've ever made in my life. And I'm glad I did too, because my wife ended up shooting hers at 340 yards, and I would never hear the end of it if she shot one in the neck farther than I did. And she just walked down now, so she's listening to me. But anyway, um, we get in there. And these moose hunters told us, hey, tomorrow, while you're caribou hunting down there in the valley, we're going to have 2 guys because there's like 9 of them and it's a non motorized zone. So you have to like have 9 people to carry a moose out, right? We're going to have 2 guys dragging canoes up that river and that creek that you're hunting on. Be careful. Okay. We sat there all morning, didn't see anything except for a moose and a cow moose and calf early in the morning, and they bed down this way from us, right? And I'm like, okay. We watched them for 30 minutes, 40 minutes. They bed down. I did not see where they went after they went in the brush. They ended up bedding down. We sit there all morning, don't see anything. About noon, the caribou, big, small herd, about 14, 15 caribou, come running up the middle of the river valley. This is a river valley you can see like 3 miles across in the middle of the mountains. They come running up the middle of the river valley. I go, watch, they're going to turn right behind that lake and come right in front of us. Well, they didn't. And I waved some white, and they came right to us. They turned right then and came right to us because they thought the waving the white of I was using the laminated range card or data card that, and it was just like waving it, and they came right to us. And she's got her 6.5 Creedmoor out. She's looking. She's got some brush in the way. She doesn't have a good shot, and all of a sudden I hear voices in the middle of that caribou crossing the creek towards us. Those guys are pulling the canoes right up the creek, right?
Oh goodness.
Yeah, scared the caribou off 2,000 yards back that way from where we were to a field. Well, they walk back up the river, and that moose and cow caribou that or cow moose and calf moose that had bedded down up there, they scared them off too. The moose and that they were running to that same field. They get to that field. I'm watching this in the binoculars. It's like 2,000 yards away, but I'm watching this in binoculars. They get to that field. They stop. They have a territorial thing. That moose starts to head into the field. Those caribou turn back around and want nothing to do with that moose. Come right up in front of us, 340 yards. My wife shoots a caribou. So those guys scared the caribou scared the moose to scare the caribou back to us. You can't make up that crap. Can't make
That's
that
awesome.
up.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
awesome.
It's on video too, somewhere on
Yeah.
my channel. It's an old video, but yeah.
You said you're waving those cards. What was that doing for the caribou?
Imitating the tail,
Okay.
imitating the tail because they have a big white tail like white-tailed deer do.
Mhm,
So,
mhm. Okay. Interesting.
yep, yeah. There's going to be a lot of people on here tell you to invest in a kit there.
And so, there was a question that was like, "Hey, how much would it be to get into it fresh?" I've got just a single press. That it
Hmm.
deprimes
Me
and
too.
and then seats the bullet and everything. You have to do multiple different steps. I'm not a reloader. I just barely know how to do it. I'm hoping to get to a point where I can get my garage cleared out so I can start setting up my reloading stuff to do more accuratized 5.56 and 6.5 Creedmoor. But um, when it comes to like buying something, try to buy something on the secondhand market if you can. I mean, if you've got
Yeah.
like here in the state of Kansas, we have something called Next Tech, which is very similar to like Arms List, but instead of Arms List just being for firearms, Next Tech has everything. So it's like how Craigslist used to be, but it also has firearms. And if you have something like that in your local area, I would say find something secondhand, find a buddy that knows how to do it. I was lucky enough that my buddy just gave me his reloading stuff. He's just like, here, take it. I don't want it. Just take it. Which came with everything. I just need to buy some dies for 6.5 Creedmoor. But that's my point is you don't need to spend a lot of money to get into it.
No, you don't. And once you load 400 to 500 rounds, you've like saved enough money because you've spent $1.25 a shot, but like you said, they're getting $2.53 a shot. Like especially in like the big Magnum cartridges.
Hmm.
Like I just bought some 50 BMG. It's $3.19 a shot. It was on clearance at my local store,
Hmm.
and like 50 BMG is worth a way lot more than $2.53 cream 6.5 Creedmoor.
Hmm.
There's
Yeah.
more there's more powder in that 50 BMG than that Creedmoor is worth. So, by the way, Busta Base, I actually tried 140 grain SSTs in my 6.5 by 284 Norma, most accurate load in that rifle. Geez, I think it was the one doing 0.26 inches, something like that, 0.24 inches. So the distance between the center of the holes was less than the bullet width. It was three, and there was three holes there. Like that was one of those. I was like, it's one of the tightest groups I've ever shot in my life. So
Super.
yeah, and it's one of those like, well, maybe I should use this for moose and shoot them in the eyeball, but I don't do that. I want my LRX. My LRX was like 0.8 inches too, like or no,
Mm.
0.28 inches, 0.28 inches. It was still like a good quarter MOA hand load with reloader 22 powder, so which I finally got more of. I probably won't see any more of that with Alliant not shipping powders soon. All right, you're probably farther down the chat with this. There you go. You win loaded competition. There you go. What's up, Luminous Dave? He's out in the bush of Alaska. There you go. Got a lot of people here. Mark, what was the elevation you took those velocities? That's a good question because Kansas isn't that low.
It's not. A lot of people don't realize that. Even though
I
even though we're flat, we're sitting somewhere around that 1,200 feet elevation. 1,200
yeah.
feet somewhere, give or take. And then, of course, the further west you go, the more it goes up slightly. So,
Hmm.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. I haven't looked, but I would imagine Western Kansas could probably be somewhere around 13, maybe even 1,400 feet. So,
Yeah, I don't live that high here in Alaska, even though there's 6,000 foot mountains right there.
mhm.
Because where I live, the 1964 earthquake actually sunk a whole bunch of land right down into the swamps. It's a
Oh,
big estuary, yeah. So across the highway from me is that swamp starts until you get to 5 miles across or something like that. It's kind of
and
that
people
19
don't. I've
that
never even thought about swamps in Alaska.
I mean, people don't, but yeah, people don't think about it. They think woods or big open tundra, but big open tundra is a swamp. I mean, all of that water has to go somewhere, and the permafrost is what 6 feet, 3 feet below the soil. So, like, where you can't, like, it's still dirt, it's not rock, but you couldn't dig any further without a big drilling machine because it's permanently frozen. And People don't think about how hot it gets up there in the summer too. Because I'm hunting first week of August and passed out because it was 88 degrees. I was wearing thin waders. So
Mm, mhm, mhm.
so there was that and that. All right. I think Accuracy First is inviting us to North Alabama where we go after whitetail. So cool. Thanks, Accuracy First. I'll come down there eventually. I was gonna go. David Posey is in here. I was gonna go to Tennessee, but I just don't have the money this year. I'm not with saving for other stuff and for just going to Shot Show this year. So are you going to Shot Show?
Yes. Yep. I already got the
Cool.
tickets. I already got my freaking room and everything, man. I'm
Cool.
excited.
I haven't got my room yet. We got the airplane tickets. I gotta finish my profile to get the uh get into Shot Show. I gotta finish that, but in fact I need to get my butt on that as soon as I put my kids in bed tonight.
Yeah, definitely sooner than later for sure.
Yeah.
And then hit me up on once we get done with this, and once you get done and you get your media credentials,
Hmm.
I'll send you some links on some
Hmm.
Airbnbs that are really good priced. So
Nice,
yeah,
nice. Because my wife's coming with me. She's gonna be my cameraman while we do it. So
yep, yep.
it's not gonna be a great Vegas seeing trip for her, but it'll.
Oh, to be this will be your first time.
Yeah, first time in Vegas. So
First time at Shot Show too, right?
yeah.
Yeah,
So,
you better be ready. Better
mhm.
you better come up with a plan because you're gonna
Yep.
walk in and you're just gonna be overwhelmed. That's all I can say. So
Sweet. That's a good feeling though.
it is. It could be, yeah. But then, like for content creation, um, it's like, oh my gosh, there's just so much. Where do I start? It's like it's literally like eating an elephant, you know.
Yeah,
So
cool. It looks like Hotep is saying fit and fire for God Emperor. I'm like, no, no. There's only one God, and I would vote for you for Emperor, but
oh, I don't know about that, man.
okay.
I'm
But when
pretty
I'm voted in Emperor, you could be in my court. Okay,
okay.
how's that? Yeah. All right. Winchester XPR varmint any good? My local has one 270 24-inch barrel. I would. I'm not a big 270 fan myself, but yeah, it's see what a heavy barrel varmint and 270. That's an interesting one. That's not
Hmm,
one. I know some people that have had good luck with XBRs, and some people couldn't get them to shoot.
hmm.
So
And the one of this is not 270, but the buddy that has gotten me into coyote hunting, he shoots 260 and loves it.
yeah,
He's
260
like,
Remington.
yeah, he's like, oh, it's so much better than 6.5 Creedmoor and all this other stuff. And I'm just like, uh, okay, I don't know.
So I mean, with the same bullet, it gets 75 to 100 feet per second more because it is a 308 casing and not the weird neck of the Creedmoor.
Okay.
Um, and so technically, yeah, he's right. But technically, you get the more efficient case that's not going to provide any of that bullet wobble
Mm,
that we were
mm,
talking about earlier.
mm-hmm.
So um, do what you want to with it. I'm not saying a 260 can't shoot 1,000 yards. It obviously can and has, I'm sure, many times or 1,300 yards. But you would see an accuracy drop off compared to the Creedmoor uh, at the same range.
Hmm.
Um, but if you want to start with more velocity, get a 6.5 PRC. 6.5 by 284 Norma. I actually traded for this gun. I had a 2-inch Kodiak backpacker. It wasn't the Ruger Alaskan, but it was a Ruger 44 Magnum, 2.5 inch or two, but it was the Red Hawk and not the Super Red Hawk Alaskan frame.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a smaller one. And that thing would not stabilize any of the heavier bear bullets. Like any
Interesting.
of the heavier hard cast lead stuff would not stabilize. The only thing it would stabilize, now this is going through a medium. On paper, it was great.
Hmm.
But going through a medium, that thing would flatten out and that thing would spin out any direction. Like you could hit two in a ballistic
The
gel
pronghorn.
or
There's one left.
wet newspapers, anything like that. That thing would spin out. And one guy was looking for a bear pistol. I told him, this is why I'm trading it. If you stick with 255 grain and lower or the 220 grain extreme penetrators, you'll probably do okay. He goes, okay, great. And so he traded me the 6.5 by 284. He said it wasn't accurate and all that kind of stuff. I figured I'll do a few videos on that. I started hand loading for it. It's the most accurate rifle I have. So
Right on.
there's that. So let's see. I want those moose antlers. Man, my new 6 Western is XBR. Took a nice muley in Wyoming with it a couple weeks ago. Congratulations. Eat well, my friend Busta Base. All right.
Yeah, mule season just opened in Wyoming. Incidentally, I am just cracking my favorite new pilsner, the Pronghorn Pilsner from Wind
Nice.
Wind River Brewing Company. It's so new, I don't even remember the name of it. This is brewed in Wyoming. It's where in Wyoming is it? Pinedale, Wyoming. And I own property in Wyoming now, so got
Nice.
40 acres. So I'm hoping to get out there and get a pronghorn and maybe some muleys too.
Okay. So I'm coming down next year. Gotcha. I got you. Yeah. Uh, Chuck, not a big fan of 270 round. Yeah. Um, see. Hotep says declaring war should be a 90% popular approval, so it would not be 51 versus 49. I don't disagree with that. I think any vote, even if it was 40% vote for it, I think any popular vote would be better than what we have now. But you know, even if it won at 40% of the vote and 60 percent of the people could say no and still win, like even that would be better than what we have now. I think I wouldn't approve that. Like that would not be what I would want. But you know. Let's see. True. I have a Browning BAR and 270 22-inch barrel. Blah blah. Okay, good. Peace through strength. There you go. Montana Musings. Has a channel he's starting, and his whole goal is to bring back the 6.8 Western. So And it's
I
like,
is that considered like a Wildcat cartridge or no?
no, but since a major gun company came out with it and their semi-spec standards, technically to be a Wildcat, you have to be popular enough for people to have heard of it, or for people in that realm of gun, whatever it is, to heard of it. But no SAMI specs on the cartridge yet. Like they're still developing those, or they're not yet not doing it. That's what technically a wild card is. So
Okay.
like the 6.5 284 was a wild card. They took the 284 Winchester, which was a short action 7 millimeters, like the original 7 millimeter weight, but it had a rebated rim. So the case was actually wider than the actual rim. So the rim is the same as 308, 30-06, 270, 45 ACP, all have that same size rim. And they made the case a little wider. So the 284 Winchester was really the first predecessor to the short action Magnums, right? Well, Wildcatter started going, I can put that in a long action, load it with 6.5 bullets and make it those high BC 6.5 bullets and make it a long action. I can get it going even faster. So 6.5 by 284 Norma was born from that. Norma bought the rights to the cartridge and standardized it. And it wasn't that long ago, 1999, like something like that. I guess that was that long ago now. That's 25 years. But in terms of that, man, I think I'm probably way behind all this
Yeah, yeah,
when
and
it comes to that.
that's probably me and going down my rabbit holes.
Yeah. No, that's all good. I go down some rabbit holes too. Looks like people are talking do that. I've had a go to load that shoots sub MOA and all the 270s I own and load for. I have not. Uh, th- he's saying 130 grain TTSX, 59.95 grains of super performance, 3325 feet per second or faster. That's flipping fast. That's got to be a 24 or 26-inch barrel. I don't think I get that out of my 22-inch barrel. So a lot of people are actually taking a 7 PRC and necking it to 270, and they have a chamber for that. My 77 277 PRCs are outperforming 270 WSMs. There we go. Let's see. Big Slinking. When they pulled 911, that was the day they realized that you can do anything you want to these people. Possibly. Possibly. Another fact about the 7 Years' War: the French found out that it was George Washington that killed the ambassador, had made him sign a confession, but somehow he blamed the interpreter for him. Oh
Yep,
yeah,
I remember that.
I
Yep.
remember that too. Yep. Um, yeah, because the French guy he killed was the ambassador to the Native American tribes. Apparently is what I believe. Uh, what do all 7 Middle Eastern countries Obama bomb have in common? They all rejected having the central bank in their countries. Of detonate aircraft carriers. I get somebody that wants 35 Wayland all the time. Like it's actually older than the 30-06, but it's about essentially the same case, but wider. There's only it's got a following, but there's only one gun made for it. It's in CVA break action. It's the only gun made for it
Hmm.
right now. So, and they still it's nicely Cerakoted and got a great muzzle brake on it and a heavy fluted barrel. So they want like $499 for it. I don't want to pay $500 for a single shot. I want to see it on sale for like 330, 379. So if they put it on sale for that, you see Zelensky and drag. Nope, I don't want
Yeah,
to see that.
yeah.
I don't want to see it. Nope. Let's see. Good. Got you a 300 Win Mag reloader. Thanks, brother. So there's actually reloading kits that you used to do by hand. You did everything with this little hammer thing by hand. It was called a field kit. And Daniel Ravistar has been looking for them for me. Um, they're pretty good. 7 mag versus 300 Win Mag. You're gonna get a better if you have the right twist rate. You're gonna get a better BC and 7 rim mag. But you're gonna get more power at 300 Win Mag in general. I have 2 videos on the channel. 7 rim mag versus 300 Win Mag. So in one box of Weatherby ammo, the W alone has a $70 fee by itself. Oh, for the like somebody's loading for. Okay, like that's the copy, right? Or it's a joke. I guess it's a joke. I didn't get it. Yeah, but yeah,
I think they're saying the W in Weatherby is
yeah,
$75.
yeah. All right. 340 Weatherby for me. It was my first Weatherby and also the first cartridge I hand loaded. Did somebody ask about Weatherby? Yeah, where's Austin from Reloading Weatherby channel when we need him? Thor's hammer. Eyeballing a Seiko Finbear Deluxe 338 Win Mag with 6 boxes of ammo. 1225 on consignment. There you go. Thor's hammer, schmack. All right. I usually go through the comments and catch up at some point, but I don't know if I'm catching up tonight.
Yeah, it's gonna
Oh,
be
Adam
quick.
Shaw. Adam Shaw is going after us. Adam Shaw. He's a good friend of the channel. He's just joking. All right.
That's
Yeah.
okay. That's okay. I get it. I get it. It's just
If that were true, like certain things that have happened would have been far worse. Let's
you
be
know.
honest.
Yeah, that's
Let-
a
let-
that's a good point.
And
That's a
I'm
good
not going to
point.
come out and say it because I don't support that. But
Hmm.
yeah,
Yeah. No, you see, and that's the first rifle that I ever bought was a Remington 710 in 30-06, and my dad had told me if you're ever going to shoot, you just shoot once, and so my first handgun was a 45 ACP.
yeah, there you go. That's fine.
And then the rifle was a 30-06, and I couldn't stand 30-06. So then from there I moved to 270, and then 270 I didn't feel comfortable with either. And then it went to 308, and I was like, okay, 308's okay. And then I shot a mile with 6.5 Creedmoor, and I was like, that's it. That's it for me. That's all I need.
Yep.
And for what I need here in the state of Kansas or Wyoming, I think 6.5 would be okay. I know that there's some
Big
there's
bears in
some
the western Wyoming, though. So you may,
yes. And then there's some elk 6.5 Creedmoor. It depends, maybe heavier bullet, but
yeah, or a heavier constructed bullet. People like this one thing I tell people all the time on the channel: don't worry about the bullet weight. Worry about the bullet construction.
that's a
Now, something's
that's good.
gonna penetrate more with better construction and lighter weight than with heavier construction. So if you use a 143 grain ELDM, it's a match bullet. It's not bonded at all. It's going to hit bone and shatter, although they're supposedly better than ELDX. All right. If you use a 127 grain LRX, that's going to penetrate way deeper than that. Like not even close. So I know Steven from Bullets for Bucks. He's from Wyoming. He's killed a deer with 6.5 or an elk with 6.5 Creedmoor and 143 grain ELDX. So like he's done it. So like it can be done. Like everything has ear holes. If it's that accurate out of your rifle, do it.
Mhm,
Don't bring it up here on a bear bait station and a grizz walk by.
mhm.
Don't do that. So like in Alaska, the hunting regulation law is you either have to be first next of kin, or you have to hire a guide for brown bear, Dall sheep, and mountain goat. I think as well. So yeah, so I can't you can't do that unless you want to pay $20,000 for a guide.
Mm,
And I don't look enough like your brother, even your fat older brother. I don't look enough like that. So,
yeah, right.
um, but yeah, I don't think we could pull that off with
Mm,
but um, uh, yeah, just start C fire. Okay, center fire. Let's see. But yeah, if you need to shoot a rifle, it's probably because you're likely to get shot at with a rifle. Have body armor. Yeah, I finally got to that question on Hotep's question on body
mhm,
armor.
mhm.
So that was what, just 45 minutes ago we answered that.
Or longer, yeah, mhm,
Yeah. So good prices on Norma Bond Strike. Yes, they are. They have a good prices on their ammo. I have consistently found it does not get the velocity even out of longer barrels that their box claims. So doesn't mean it's not good ammo. It performs well. I've got a 6.5 and I think a 308 video on it, but it consistently out of longer barrels does not get that velocity. All right. Take any caliber, buy 500 to 1,000 bullet tips, buy about the same amount of primers, put them back. Great survival. Yeah, there you go. I'll take 264 Win Mag. Wow. Let me say about this. Everything you read on the 264 Winchester Magnum, like it doesn't get the velocities that 6.5 PRC would. Like, why would you buy something that archaic? Like, if you love yours and you have one, great. Like, go shoot it, love it. But everything I read, and of course, you might hand load it to way above pressure. Same thing with 6.5 by 55 Swede. Like, if you have a modern one made by Tika, you can get some good pressures. And that's way bigger case than the Creedmoor. But if you have an old one and you got to go buy soft points to hunt with, you're going to get less velocity than a Creedmoor because those things were just not made for that. Same thing with was it 6.5 Kirkano, which wasn't made to be, but it's a 160 grain in the Kirkano. And it's not actually. I think it's 0.268 instead of 0.264 inches in diameter. The 165 grain bond strike gave you 2750 feet in it. Yep, like I said, slow. Although the Tikas tend to shoot slow and tend to have shorter barrels too. So MOA though. There you go. David Thompson's. Yep, 243 Tiger Stripe. Centerfire go boom. I have 2 videos on this. I would say, do what you like. They're both great calibers. 25-06 is going to max out at a 120 grain. If you have a fast twist rate in the custom built rifle, you can do a 131 grain that gives you a really high BC. But the 6.5 Creedmoor is going to be about the same in energy. So the 25-06 is actually a 257 bullet in a 30-06 case. But because you're necking it down so much, you're getting a lot of speed, but not a lot of bullet weight. So I've got 2 videos on that. Centerfire go boom. Go look them up. One of them's got over 100,000 views, and they demonetized it, and it still got that many views, which is interesting. Occasionally that happens. So there's that. 308 bond strike was on clearance at 459 for 400 rounds. Oh wow, that's good. I don't think we're catching up with the comments tonight. There we go. 6.5 Creedmoor versus 6.5 PRC. 200 to 250 feet per second difference on average. Some things could be 300. Some things could be 150. Depends on what you're at. My hand loads in 6.5 PRC with the 127 grain LRX, we're getting 31 to, and my hand loads in 6.5 Creedmoor, we're getting 2850 in 127 grain LRX. So quite a bit more power. And this one's right in between at like 2990 to 3030, depending on the day and the air pressure. So feet per second. And that's the 6.5 by 284. I've been meaning to do a cartridge comparison with all 3. That's that. So, yep. If you haven't seen Fit and Fire's channel, there's his link.
Thanks,
so
buddy.
there's that. Yeah. Appreciate it, Hotep. Very skeptical of the Needmore, but in the last 2 weeks I've developed for 3 different rifles and axes, an Axe 2 and a Kimber, and they all love the Game King 130. Great. Sweet, Jonathan King. There you go. Cool. Tonight we have defeated that. Yeah. That's good though. That's good though. All right. I'm going to scroll all the way down to the end, and if you've got a question you really want us to answer, retype it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I saw about 10 minutes ago, maybe Ghost Tactical had jumped into the chat. So,
Yeah.
hi Trey.
Yeah. Hi, fluffy 10mm Jeep guys here. I'm a big 10mm guy up here too.
Well, it's interesting. Just at TriggerCon just a few weeks ago, I was talking with the Global Ordnance peeps, and they wanted to send me a Strybog, and I was like, "Oh yeah, sure." And they're like typing up the whole affiliates process to get one sent to me, and they're like, "All right, we got a 10mm sent to you," and I'm like, "I don't want 10mm. I 10mm is not a thing for me."
Yeah.
I mean, it's the best millimeter by far, but
Oh, you'll love it. That Strybog was nice. I shot Chook had one. So I don't know if you know him, Chook's Outdoor Adventures. He's
right.
last channel here. We're basically brother sister channels. I mean, well, brother channels.
Mhm.
I make fun of him a lot, and he makes fun of me a lot. And he says I shoot small bears, which is kind of true. But they were bigger than his. And I tell him he's like trying to find a wife by going to Asia and meeting all these women online. And like, I'm like, they're just getting a green card for you. Like the last one he met in Vietnam, and I'm like, she's just getting a green card and she's a communist spy, and that kind of thing. But no, he actually ditched me on one of our bear hunts to go to Asia to meet this girl. So like,
Oh,
I'm like, bros before hoes, dude, bros before hoes. Anyway, and yeah, but I ended up going and getting my brown bear instead without him. So that was an interesting one. I could tell you about it later. There's a video on the channel, but I thought it was bigger than it was, and when I shot it, it like curled up into this ball, and it doesn't look any bigger than a wild hog, but it's still like it was still 475 pounds and about 5.5 feet, which is basically it was last year's cub, not this
mhm.
year's cub. It wasn't a cub, but last year's cub. So
Right.
yeah, and that's that on my bear rug on my channel. That's that thick blondish hair. I'm like,
That's really cool. Yeah.
yeah. And anyway, if I didn't shoot him, it was going to come after me because it stalked me from 300 yards away to 88 yards away. And I had put some moves on it to kind of get out of its way. And I'm like, you know what? It's 88 yards, it's staring me down. It thinks I'm food. I'm gonna put a 338 Win Mag right through between the eyes. I aimed there. I was sitting down here. I hit here. It went through its lower jaw, through the neck, and into the body.
Wow.
250 grain partition. It went splat. But when I got up to him, he was still breathing. So
Wow.
yeah,
That's crazy.
he was reflex breathing. So it was dead and go.
Oh,
And when you're with a grizzly bear doing that, hunting by yourself, it freaks you out a little bit. I ain't
I
gonna
bet.
lie.
Yeah.
I'm glad I was wearing brown pants. Nobody could see. Anyway,
You guys are built different up there. I can tell you that.
yeah, you got to be crazy to move here. It helps,
hmm
or at least you don't have to be, but it helps. So I don't know if you know the story. I moved here after a divorce. Like I didn't want to go through it. I was just like, screw all this. I'm going to Alaska. Best decision I ever made. I got a wife and kids now that are great, and light years ahead of the rest of them. Milliparsecs,
hmm
megaparsecs ahead of the last one.
Awesome.
So it's awesome. And yeah. So if you got, I'm gonna scroll to the bottom. If you got any more questions you want answered, we were going really long tonight. I didn't mean to keep Mark this long.
Oh no, you're
Uh,
good. You're good.
yeah. What is it? 9 o'clock there? 10? 10?
10. Yeah.
10? Yeah.
No problem. Yeah.
Okay.
The good
Uh,
thing is I don't have any. I don't have any early morning meetings like I did today, so I'm good
there
to
you
go.
go. Strybog's A3 roller delay is the fastest semi-automatic in current productions. Yeah. Yeah, you're gonna have to get Strybog to send me one, a 10 millimeter. Talk to him and say, hey, send Chuck a 10 millimeter because I got a CMMG and Banshee,
hmm
and I actually have a video because Chuk bought one. He bought it, and we have a video comparing the two. I
hmm
actually like it. It does better accuracy with heavier 10 millimeter bullets and hard cast bullets. The CMG is better with lighter 10 millimeter bullets and copper bullets. Like so, the Underwood Extreme Defender and Extreme Penetrators, those type of bullets, the CMG loves grouping them 1 inch at 50 yards, which out of a PCC is all you can ask
Yeah.
for.
hmm
And like I would throw 15 or 30 of those, depending on the magazine size, in there and do that. One thing about PCCs, though, if you start using those high pressure 10 millimeter rounds, sometimes the bolt isn't designed with the magazine spring to catch those up, and you got to do some things.
Mm-hmm.
That's
That's a
one
good
thing.
point.
Like, yeah, like so I had to do that with 45 Super, for example. I converted my Glock 21 to shoot 45 Super. That's what I ended up making that bear stop breathing with,
Mm.
top of the head. And a buddy convinced me to get 45 Super. There was some factory ammo available at the time, and I before the ammo crisis, so I did that. And he actually hand loaded me a bunch of ammo, and uh, I was getting I had a 6.5 inch barrel sticking out of my Glock at 21, a little longer actually, and I was getting 1370 with a 200 grain hard cast in a
That's cool.
45, essentially,
Yeah.
in something the size of a 45 ACP.
Right.
Because unlike 460 Roland, which is a little longer, so you can't chamber it in a 45 AC, 45 Super you can. So you have to be really careful, make sure your
Mm.
gun's ready to take it. All right. For my first 6.5 Creedmoor, is Tika a good choice? Yes. Yes, it is.
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah. I like Bergara better. They're smoother and more accurate for me, but Tika's a good gun. Yeah, like you're not going to do that. Excellent choice. Chuck, you look 10 years younger. Have you lost weight? Yes, actually, from my high, I've gained some of it back, but I lost 29 pounds from my high this past spring.
Awesome.
So I'm still fit. I'm still fat and fire instead of fit and fire here, but I'm better. I'm better.
That's good.
I was able to walk in my 3.5 mile hunt with minimal breaks instead of my
Good.
9 mile hunt last year with lots and lots of breaks, and it
Hmm.
took me 2 days.
Yeah. No.
Okay,
No. Better's
all right,
always better.
yep. So there we go. And I also shaved, like I shaved, like took the whole beard off. Uh, that's fine. My Bergara is smoother than my Tika by far. Yours might be different. So, um, my Bergara is so smooth. I've had to order the instead of the Magpul 10 round magazines you can stick in the bottom of that HMR. I've had to go to the metal mags because my Bergara is so smooth. I do not feel the brown picking the
Mm.
round up from those plastic mags. And there'll be a lot of times where I didn't pull it back far enough. I thought I did, but I didn't. So I have to pull it back, make sure it slams, then I can put a round in. So
I will say my experience. I like them both. I have a bias towards Tika for no reason whatsoever. But last SHOT Show, it would have been this past January. I shot a Bagara at 900 yards and call it 18 to 20 mile an hour winds, crosswind, and hit 900 yards on the second round. And it was, um, you know, the spotter was like, "Hey, you're right on. Just move to the left like 1 mil or half a mil or whatever he said." And boom, second round, 900 yards with a Bagara. So
there
um,
you go.
that's pretty cool. I'm
My
sure a Tika could do the same thing, but
sure. My Bergara HMR. Now Bergara's had some quality control issues recently, so I would go Tika over Bergara right now. But my Bergara HMR shoots half MOA with 9 different types of ammo. The,
that's
the
that's
factory
that's
the,
really good.
the factory Barnes LX, 2 of my hand loads Barnes LRX, factory Norma, factory ELDX, factory ELDM, um, hand loaded 120 grain TTSX Barnes. I mean, so you're talking about all different ranges here. I have not shot the terminal ascent from it yet. There's a few other hand loaded 150 grain Nosler Accubon long range. You don't see many of the 150 grains. Um, the Hornady casings didn't like that. They split at the top, and they weren't even maxed out on the load. So I go Starline casings next time, or Nosler casings next time. But that's that. So Centerfire Boom, 150 grain core lock versus 270 grain, 130 grain core lock. Which one would you think would make a bigger hole? My white just shoulders at 150 yards. Oh, the 150 grain because it's or the 308 because it's a bigger diameter. So yeah, I don't like core lock. I think it's a horrible bullet, but I really don't like it in factory ammo because I've seen extreme spreads of 150 feet per second in the same box. You were just talking on another comment, Centerfire Go Boom, of 270 versus 30-06. Well, I did a video 25-06, 270, 30-06. I think I did 120 grain, 130 grain, and 165 or 150 grain for 30-06. And man, was it just horribly inconsistent in velocities, enough that you could miss beyond 300 yards with the velocities drop. Like you could miss from the drop being different between 2 rounds in the same box.
Mhm.
Open up the box, there are different colored primers in the same box. Like this is why Remington went out of business, guys.
Yep.
It's not the liberals, it's not the Sandy Hook shooting that they paid for. That didn't help. But Remington went out of business because their quality went to crap.
Mhm.
That's why they went out of business. And they're reproducing stuff now in where I used to live in LaGrange, Georgia, near LaGrange, Georgia.
Mhm.
So good for them. But yeah,
Another piece on Remington, just to bash on him a little bit more, is I just did my first trap shooting competition this last weekend. Uh,
mhm,
that was a humbling experience, to say the
I'm sure.
least.
Yeah.
But just in the shotgun shells that we had different colored brass. You know,
Hmm.
we had some silver, we had some brass colored, um, within the same box, and we're
Hmm.
like, "What? What's this all about?" So I don't know what's going on with Remington. I will say that if you're interested in some more information about Remington Core Lock, check out Mr. Hootie Hoo.
Yeah, he's got a
His
good.
channel, he does a lot of stuff. He does a lot of shooting. I think he really likes Remington ammunition for the rifles that he shoots.
Right.
Um, there was a video he just did on a rifle. It was probably last week, and the only thing that he shot through it was Remington ammunition. And I'm like, really? No, you're not going to put any like Hornady match through it or anything like that just to test
Yeah.
the accuracy. It was all Remington stuff. I'm just like, okay, whatever.
Yeah. So I'm not going to argue that the core lock kills well. I'm
Mhm.
just going to say for up here in Alaska, it's a piece of junk. If you're shooting Alabama deer at 50 yards, go buy a box of core lock. Make sure your gun is bore sighted, and you'll be fine. But which it would not be my thing. Why is
And,
push B? This is
and,
a big
and
debate. Go
just
ahead.
real quick about Corlock. One last thing is look at how many different variations of Corlock there is.
Mhm.
You've got Corlock bonded SP, you got Corlock SP, you got Corlock PSP, and the question is, why do you need to have so many different variations of the same type of bullet, right?
Right.
Um, Again, I'm not smart when it comes to these types of things, but when I see Remington Corlock on the shelf, and then you read the fine print, and there's like three different types of it, I'm just like, that raises a red flag real quick to me, you know.
Yeah.
And it's the same type, it's the same weight of bullet. You can find like 150 grain 30-06 or 150 grain 308, and you'll still have like three different types of core lock. I'm like, makes no sense. Anyway,
Well,
that's my thing.
yeah. Yeah. He's just saying core lock tipped. So now you have a ballistic tip core lock.
Hmm.
And yeah, what I'm interested in shooting is the new ballistic tip Federal Fusion that came out. Which I'm like, why would you do that? Why not just buy Federal Terminal Scent? But I guess it's supposed to be a little lower on the line because the Fusion line is supposed to be a little cheaper than like the gold medal stuff.
Okay.
And the golden line of Federal. And so I guess they're trying to appeal to the high BC of the polymer tip instead of just an exposed soft point on the Fusion. But Federal Fusion is a heck of a good bullet. Like it's if it's accurate in your 6.5 Creedmoor, try it because it's a bonded, it's a soft point exposed, it's going to expand. I have a test on it in my 6.5 Creedmoor versus 7mm 08 video, and they're both 140 grain. We shot that video in -15 degrees.
Good night.
Yeah, and so we had 22-inch barrels, and the rifles only went about 100 feet per second below the box, which is kind of what I'd expect in a 22-inch barrel in the cold. So it was pretty good. So yeah, so there's that. All right. Well, I'm going to let you plug your channel and whatever products you want to sell and all that kind of stuff for a few minutes and tell everybody what's coming on. And then we're going to get out of here. I'm sure my kids and my wife would like to see me. It's 7:17 right here. I can actually go hug them before they go to bed. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Again, my channel's Fit and Fire. I also run a podcast called the Live, Laugh, LARP podcast. I do that with my cameraman Hefe, and we just talk about whatever and have guests on, just kind of like this, only in a podcast version. So definitely check that out. As far as upcoming videos, I'm doing accuracy testing on the Global Ordnance Monolith, which is a video I just released first impressions on this past Sunday. I'm also looking at pistol caliber carbine. So I've got a Strybog A3 and 9mm that I'm going to be looking at. I've got a Beretta PMX S that I'm going to be looking at, which is like a modernized Tech 9. So kind of the wars of the PCCs,
There you go.
or
Cool.
PDAWs or whatever you want to call it. I've got a video on the Aero Precision Solus coming up here pretty soon. So, yeah, man, freaking, I've got a lot of great content coming up as far as ammo price videos that I've done this year. I've got one more that I'm going to put out. I think definitely before election season.
Hmm. Yeah.
And then we're going to cross reference that with another ammo priced video at the end of the year, and that'll close out this year to kind of see where the market what happened to the market just before the election and at the end of the year. So yeah, I think that would be kind of interesting. And of course, naturally, if you guys want to follow me on Instagram or on X or Twitter, whatever you want to call it, you're more than welcome to send me a DM with requests of things that you'd like to see as well. So, thanks for having me on, man. This is a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And, whenever you need someone to come on, just give me a holler and I'll see what I can do to get on.
Yeah, I usually send out a big old email list for everybody, but tonight I only sent it to you, so I wanted it to be there.
Thanks.
So yeah, no problem. Yeah, guys, if you hadn't subscribed to Fit and Fire, that's that. I just want to thank the past week I've done mostly shorts, so I've done with the anechoic suppressor. I want to thank them. You do get a discount code if you use Alaskan. I think it's 15%. It could be only be 10. I can't remember. My memory's not that good, but 15% off a $1,250 titanium can is significant. So yeah, those are pretty good. And so yeah, they're pretty good suppressors. So I highly recommend it so far. I would recommend getting a non flow through hole if you don't want to have flash. There is that, but they make it both in caps there for you. So guys, I hope everybody has a good night. Godspeed and good hunting to all y'all. And I did put out a video today and a short yesterday, so go watch them. And we'll do that. Curmudge here. He earlier he said he had a big brown bear on his game camera at 3 a.m. The other morning. So, and he looked angry and pissed too, which that's all brown bear. So I don't know if you saw it on my shorts. I had a brown bear with 3 cubs come rolling up to me right at last legal shooting hours. They were about 160 yards away. I stood up and waved at them, and they ran away, which was good.
Good.
Because I had my AR-10, and I'm like, I don't want to shoot a mama bear with cubs. She wasn't a huge brown bear, but she definitely was a brown bear. So you can have cinnamon black bears too that are the same color, but they're black bears.
Hmm.
She was a little bit smaller, so I was wondering, and she didn't have that pronounced hump, but all of her babies were the same color. If you have a cinnamon brown bear or cinnamon black bear, it's a recessive gene. You're going to have a black cub. Like you're just going to have a black cub. So they do that.
Interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. So there is that. Yeah. Anyway, guys, appreciate you being there. Go support Mark at Fit and Fire. Great channel. I've been watching you for how many years now?
Yeah, long
Yeah,
time, long
yeah,
time. Same with you. I've been watching you a long time too. I've learned
yeah.
an awful lot and still need to learn a lot more when it comes to reloading, but this has
There
been
you go.
fun.
Yeah, absolutely. You got my number, so call me anytime if you got reloading. I'll probably talk your ear off though.
That's
Uh,
fine.
what years do you serve, brother? David Thompson wants to know.
I enlisted in, I touched boots on ground at Fort Knox, Kentucky for basic training on the 13th of March, 2000, and had a 2-year break for ROTC to commission as an officer, and then exited the Army April 8th, 2013.
Thank you for your service.
Yeah,
If nobody else
appreciate it.
says it, I'll say it.
Yep.
All right. Okay, all y'all have a good night now.
All right.